Welcome to another episode of Pels in the Blender. It's your boy Davis coming to y'all on this Thursday morning, man. Appreciate everybody for tapping in and who will tap in. Whoa, appreciate you for this Black Star for tapping in early, man. Appreciate you for sure. Um, man, first off, shout out to anybody who joined the show me and Chaz did last night. Yo, when I think we just have really good show chemistry. That's why you end up with a pod that lasts like 3 hours and shit like that. We just truly be running it and like talking through a lot of the conversations that we have. So it's real like detail oriented and like real in-depth conversation and whatnot. So that's why those shows end up running so long. So anybody who stayed throughout most of that time, man, appreciate y'all for sure. Um, but I kind of just wanted to follow up today with more like a fun episode, right? Like there's been a lot of just a lot of kind of the summer is a lot of inactivity. Even for most teams, there's a lot of inactivity, right? Like you've seen some teams make some moves, and we as a fan base, when your team is not good or hasn't performed well, you just want something to be excited about, right? Like you want something more to like hang your head on to move forward into the season, especially while like no games are really being played. That's why people put so much emphasis on summer league, because while the summer league like isn't the most it's not like a clear barometer of where your players are or aren't, but like when your stars don't play in the summer, it's less for you to talk about, it's less for you to see like their progress and see kind of how they're doing. So now you just like more time of anxiety basically in the summer. It's like, fuck, we ain't make no move, we ain't do this, we ain't do, like you just it's too much unknown, right? So with that being said, I kind of just wanted to take a lot of the ideas that were being presented or that we talk about. Whoa, what's good, Paperboy? Absolutely, man. Appreciate y'all, man, for sure. Uh, I just wanted to kind of talk out a lot of the discussions that we've been having. Whoa, what's good, Jess? Appreciate y'all, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button as y'all coming to the show and whatnot too. Um, a lot of the stuff that we've been discussing, and do it, you know, party style to a degree. One of the one games that everybody do. Whoa, what's good, Jay? Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Um, what all of the news and stuff that's finally starting to come out. I saw that with the Jordan Hawkins interest. Again, it's a bunch of appreciate you, Jess. I'm not sure, to be honest, because this is one of the first times you hear like leaked to a degree Pelicans information. And is that one of the things where they just kind of like, look, man, we finally need to start letting some information get out the building. Or is that coming from Memphis or whatever? We've been known that they've been trying to move Hawkins. Last night was a great show. Appreciate you, bro. Listen, that's 3 hours. No, that's we went almost 4 hours on that show last night, and talking about so many different. Whoa, what's good, Lee? What's good? Appreciate y'all. Like we so many great topics and discussions, and y'all do a good job in the chat too of like asking great questions, which kind of helps push the show and stuff as well. So like as y'all, and the same thing in here, like with the questions and comments or whatever, man, make sure y'all always comment and hit the like button, bro, because it helps give more ideas and wait like extra thoughts that we could like talk out and be able to kind of discuss throughout the show. So as far as like the Memphis Jordan Hawkins thing, I like the news came out, and we've already known like they've been trying to move certain players, right? But they just don't want to give up no assets. So the question I have is are they like looking to, because I don't think they again in no position of where they like, look, we trying to give a second to move Jordan Hawkins, right? Or we trying to give any picks to move Jordan Hawkins. So if there's any like discussion with Memphis about it, is it one of those things where who ended up getting, did Memphis end up getting D'Lo? If I'm not mistaken, is it Memphis thinking about buying out D'Lo? I'm not sure if it was Memphis or somebody else. I'd have to go back and look. But with the Jordan Hawkins thing, if it's one of those things where it's like, look, like take this salary, you ain't got to give us a player back. We'll take a second or whatever the case may be. That's a win. Like you just really need to get off the Hawkins for Edey for sure. I'm all in for that. All in for that. But if you just moving Hawkins to clear the salary, that's a move. Okay, yeah, he would have to go back to the Wizards, right? I'm wondering if that's one of those things where they just kind of like, look, instead of how much do D'Lo make? Let me look that up real quick. Because I know they said they're talking about buying them out, and teams don't really care to buy players out. So if you're not buying him out, I wonder if that's one of those things where D'Lo only made $5 million, right? Not $6 million, basically. If you did, to be honest, you could do a D'Lo for Hawkins deal straight up, and that improves that like that improves you or something like that. So maybe that, you get what I'm saying? Memphis with 19 contracts, will it be a 2-for-1 for Hawkins, D'Lo, and whoever? That's exactly my point. And that's another thing some people rather, and that's where we get into the conversation of like, would you, like, now I have like the thoughts of like, would you rather, right? Because would you rather just dump D'Lo? Would you rather dump D'Lo and have whatever the extra money is, or would you rather have a player like D'Lo on your roster as like a third point guard? Because right now we don't have, realistically, the only two like point guards you have is Fizz and DeJounte. And if something happens to one of them, you really don't have another one. So if you could turn Hawkins into D'Lo and something else with the cap space and a 2-for-1 deal, again, you could do D'Lo and GG, because maybe they didn't got to the point where they, like, if you did D'Lo for like Hawkins for D'Lo and GG in a second, I think that's fine, because you could probably consider bringing back GG Jackson or something like that. Scottie Pippen Jr. is another person they have. Cam Spencer is a 2-guard that's a shooter that they have. Got a couple years left on this deal. So they have some players. They have some players on the Memphis roster that if they just like, look, man, we really ain't trying to buy out D'Lo. You know, maybe they think of, because they're in a position where you could take Hawkins for a year, let the $7 million sit there, and then let it expire, because they might not have some other contracts that's expiring. So maybe they're trying to work something out. But just on face value, right, just being connected to Memphis, you look at what Hawkins' money is. I would look at the roster and just be like, all right, look, shit, he was a former I've been keeping notes from the lives, and I remember Louisiana Girl saying that Hawkins was most likely to get traded or bought out. Chaz mentioned potentially waiving stretch. Yeah, but so the thing is, with Hawkins, it's been multiple times of like throughout the season, bro, like just because this front office is incredibly tight-lipped. Like nothing is truly getting out about what it is that they're doing, right? So we know that they've had interest. Again, we didn't know anything. Nobody heard anything about Zaire Williams until he decided to go to LA. And then it was like, well, the Pelicans had real interest and was probably going to sign him. He just decided to go somewhere else. And then everybody took that and was like, well, wait, we had interest in Zaire Williams. That just goes to show that just because the information isn't getting out, they're not behind the scenes working and talking to people, right? Like last year, we know that they had interest. You know that they just had interest last season in Ben Mathurin, right? Because they was talking about Ben Mathurin for Eves. But because of all of the shit that's happening with Kawhi, you can't even really do much with Ben Mathurin right now. You still got you got to create roster space and stuff like that. So it's just a bunch of stuff that's kind of I'll say in play, right? It's a bunch of stuff that they've been discussing and have interest in. Is just how can you make the moves to create the opportunity, and also without making a bad move, because last year they were overly aggressive and people were heavily criticized about, hey, why did you do this and why did you do that? Which is honestly, that's just the benefit of hindsight. If Jordan Poole goes out and plays incredible and they win, then it's kind of like, oh man, y'all get credit for making that move. If DQ right? If DQ and Fizz both look like promising rookies or whatever, like both of them made the rookie team and, you know, had moments where they looked like players. If that's the case, then it's kind of like if DQ comes out this year and looks like a rookie that can compete with the rookies of this year, of the players that went behind him, then you kind of like, all right, well, you did okay. But everybody's being very critical because you ended up not winning those games. And then not winning those games is more on your better players, is more on your coaching and stuff. So it's just interesting to see what actually takes place, because people always use like the benefit of hindsight. The only it's only a couple people that ahead of time was like, man, I don't like this move, and they don't like the moves because of their line of thinking. Like, for example, Chaz, and then shout out to Chaz, he didn't like the DQ move. It didn't matter who they would have drafted. He just don't like the idea of giving up assets early, right? When the opportunity cost of what you giving up to make said move. I'm more so like, I don't really care about not giving up assets, but if I'm going to give up the assets, I'm taking a big swing. That's like, so it's just people's philosophies and what, like, where they differ, and if something is considered technically a good move, bad move, and then you still gotta wait and see. Because again, if with Jordan Poole, for example, if Jordan Poole comes out, plays well this year, and then, you know, you turn Jordan Poole into something else. Sometimes some shit take more than just one season for you to decide whether it was a success or a failure. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, in this day and age, you don't have the luxury of like longevity and just kind of waiting things out to see. So that's the part that's interesting. Let's go through some of these. I'll just take anything. I'm like the meme, do something, just do anything. And that's some people are like that. Just do something so I know. So I know you're doing something. I'm curious to see what the trade would be if they are clearing salary. Are they looking to go after restricted free agent? Or are they trying to get a big from Memphis? I don't know as far as like what big they would get. As of right now, to be honest, I think they're looking to do something that's wing related. And how I view it, I think they're looking to do something wing related, because last year, what you saw, and I'm not saying that Herb don't have any value, but I think you saw Bryce McGowan and Sadiq Bey could probably replace Herb to a degree, right? Like, you could just get the replace the production there. If you got another wing to supplement, let's say you got a starting level wing, right? If you got a starting level wing to replace that production, then you can say, okay, maybe I can take Herb and move Herb for a big or something like that. So I think they're looking at the wing position, one, because wings really win in the league, to be honest. You got to have a big, don't get me wrong, but the wing position is really where like most of the teams during the regular season flourish. You have to have a depth at the wing position. But if I could take Sadiq Bey, Bryce McGowan, and hypothetically in this case, let's say Ben Mathurin, and I still got Trey and Zion, and then turn Herb into a big or a center of some kind, and then turn Hawkins into let's say Zaire Williams, right? Zaire Williams is a minimum guy. He's not like a great player per se, but if you turned Hawk into something like that, your team is just better. You have more playable players. Your roster makes a little bit more sense. So I think that's when they're like, the priority is wings to a degree. But Hawkins being connected to Memphis just kind of gives you some opportunity. So free up money for Kuminga. That's a possibility as well. Again, if you could move Hawkins $7 million into somebody's cap space, right? And you freed up the money via a trade. Like, if it cost you, let's say it cost you a second to move Hawkins to or Beef Stew, right? Or Beef Stew. Let's say it cost you a second to move Hawkins, but you got back, Isaiah Stewart, or you was able to bring in Jonathan Kuminga. That's an upgrade to the roster, in my opinion, and it would be worth a second round pick. Plus, you would turn a player that's not really playing, that's not really doing much for you. You still technically would be able to use your cap space, and you bring in a player that'll be able to help you. So if you could turn Hawkins into, like, those are what I would use second round picks for. That's what I would use second round picks for. And Isaiah Stewart still has he got 15 million this year. He got a 15 million player option for next team option. I'm sorry, for next year. And then he become a free agent. So you turn a second into 2 years and then somebody you possibly could resign moving forward. And that would be a good move. That would be a good move, even if it costs you a second to do it. Even if it costs you a second to do it. Beef Stew was shooting threes too. He was absolutely spacing. So again, boom. Would you rather? Here's the question. Would you rather do a deal of letting Hawkins go, right? Like trying to figure out a way to just waive Hawkins and then take your chance signing a free agent on the open market. Trading Hawkins to Memphis if Memphis have some actual interest. Trading Hawkins to Memphis for Beef Stew, which I think you could do because it's 7 plus you have 7 million in cap space. You could just do that deal straight up, right? You could do that deal straight up, but I think you probably need to figure out a way because they got multiple people on their roster. They still got time to make more moves. So would you rather do that, take Beef Stew, or would you rather some form of a 2-1 deal where it's kind of like, and maybe they're going to try and do that too. It's like, look, figure out a way to take D'Lo, and then maybe we could figure this out. Take D'Lo off our hands. We'll figure something out for you as well. So would you rather a 2-for-1 with D'Lo, just let Hawkins go into space, like try and figure out a way to waive and stretch Hawkins or clear Hawkins or something like that? Or would you rather just go get Beef Stew? Let me write that down because that's a possibility. I think you could do that. And if it costs you a second round pick, if it was Hawkins in a second for Isaiah Stewart, would you be okay with that? Hawk in a second for Stewart. That's actually not a bad deal, to be honest, in my opinion. D'Lo and Stewart will go a long way. And if D'Lo getting ready to get cut, you might be able to figure out a way to look. If you look at this roster, let me pull up our D'Lo make 5, he make 15. Hold on, man. And that's the interesting part about our numbers. You'd have to do. See, we don't have nobody else around like the money. The only person that's like around the money that like, because you're not doing Sadiq Bey, he makes 6. And so it's really just Hawkins and Herb, the 2 players you're trying to move. And I don't think anybody would move. Yep, you already know it, dog. We tapped in for sure. That's interesting workaround. I would love to figure out a way to bring. You know what else would be a thought too? If you could do something like Hawkins and got D'Lo, you only got one roster spot. But if you were able to do something like Hawkins for D'Lo and Isaiah Stewart, and then turn Herb into Kuminga, right? If you could find a way to turn Herb into Kuminga in like some form of a sign and trade, I think if those were the 3 players you brought in, I wouldn't be mad with that. The way it feels, I definitely believe we need an enforcer on this team of some kind. I definitely think you. And then listen, bro. I personally think Isaiah Stewart is the kind of guy, not necessarily because he was a really good defender as well. He was the kind of guy though that when Detroit was trying to like turn the corner and like finally start winning, he was the starting center that was instrumental in like bringing that team along, or the starting forward or whatever, however you want to look at it, him and Jalen Durham. But he was doing a lot of the starting of turning it around and like the intensity. Clearly, Cade had to be great, but Isaiah Stewart was instrumental in Detroit's culture and what it is you think about when you think about the way Detroit play right now. So that's kind of one of the things that I would be interested in to see. Does Memphis actually have interest in Hawks, or are they interested in obtaining the Pelicans draft asset? I don't think, maybe both, but I don't think they have interest in Hawkins at all. I think they have multiple players better than Hawkins. But again, if it costs you a second, it's just what are you doing with the space? Or what are you doing with the Hawkins in second? Like if it was Hawkins in a second, but I brought back Isaiah Stewart, cool. If it was Hawkins in the second, but then I was able to get maybe D'Lo or Gigi Jackson or something like that, that's something that I would consider as well. So like, it's not necessarily that you can't pay the second to move off of Hawkins. This for me at least. You can't pay the second to move off of Hawkins. It's just, what do I bring back for that? Because what'll happen is, this the type of shit that'll happen. You'll give up a second, right? Let's say you give up a second and Hawkins and brought back Isaiah Stewart. And then for whatever reason, Isaiah Stewart don't have a good season. People will be like, man, if you didn't let go of Hawkins, you could have had that $7 million expiring. Now you got $15 million on the books. You don't have, that's your only free agent signing. And then it'll be, then it'll be one of those situations was like, well, that's your signing for the off season, and people will be pissed about it. Right. So that's kind of one of those things where like, you can't really have it both ways. So that's where the would you rather comes in. Would you rather let Hawkins expire, right? And just, okay, you got that money potentially for next year. Or would you trade Hawkins? Let's say it took Hawkins in a second to get you Isaiah Stewart. And even if Isaiah Stewart didn't play well, right? And then you got that money on the book for that. Now, even still, he got a team option, so you could deny the option anyway, and that's still $15 million off the books. So either way you go, like if that's the target, it makes sense. If that's the target, it makes sense because it allows you still technically have a roster spot, but you don't have no space, but it allows you to free up, money more money moving forward. I would do it. If it was me, I would do it. Hawkins for D'Lo and Prosper, won't be mad, but Beef Stew is the best option. I agree. I wouldn't be mad at that deal either. And then listen, for people who saying they just want you to do a move, like this the thing. Would you rather do nothing, or would you rather them do something and it's a bad move? That's for the people that's just like, we just want you to do something. It's like, all right, if they did something, but it was considered a bad move, would you rather them do that? Or would you just be like, yeah, son, y'all, I'd rather chill and then run it back? So like, let's have some nuance with what's going on as well. Toughness, as Joe said, Beef Stew is it. I ain't gonna lie, them just being connected to Memphis in that way, I like the idea of that, bringing in Isaiah Stewart. I do it for sure. Isaiah Stewart was a Troy draft pick, absolutely. I just want Stewart to wrap somebody in the face. Listen, the one thing you do know, Isaiah Stewart is not going to be, he's not going to be soft. He's going to play hard. He's going to run it's certain things you just know that he's going to be able to do. Right. And that's why I think it just makes sense to make that type of move. It makes sense to make that type of move. Like when we made the CJ for Jordan Poole deal, like this is an example of a bad move, or a quote unquote bad move. People said when you made the deal for CJ for Jordan Poole, even though you got Sadiq Bey and a second in that deal, right? Because you didn't have no seconds. That second ended up turning into Michael Peavy, if I'm not mistaken. But people said that was a bad deal. If you don't make that move, right? Let's say you don't make that move and then you got expiring money right now. Let's say you got cap space right now, and you throwing money at I don't know, Ben Mathurin, but he won't sign. You throwing money at fucking Peyton Watson, but he won't sign. You throwing money at some of these free agents, but they won't sign with you. Is it better to have the second that turned into PV, Jordan Poole's expiring this season, and Sadiq Bey, potentially being another player on your team? Would it be better to have that now, or the expiring of what CJ became or whatever? So like those are one of the moves that people say that turned out to be a bad move. And realistically, you still don't know because you got another year of Jordan Poole, and then you can see what Jordan Poole turned into. So I don't think it's truly Yeah, man, that second could have been Reno, make the bad move. That's another thing too. Hawkins in the second for Stewart's a no-brainer. I completely agree. Even if Isaiah Stewart doesn't play well, I think the deal in general is a no-brainer, right? How many seconds would you be willing to pay for that deal? I think Hawkins in 1 second would be the max that I'd be willing to do. Hawkins in the second is the max that I'd be willing to do. Nothing or a bad move, you rather nothing. See, and that's where it stands as well. Like people looked at the Derek Queen move, the Derek Queen trade as a bad move, one max. I ain't mad at that. That's kind of what my cap would be too. I can't give too much for Isaiah Stewart, but again, you still have a roster spot, but you don't have no space. But you could do maybe an uneven trade. You probably could figure out something. You could probably go into the tax for a little bit if you needed to, as long as you down before the deadline. So that's interesting. But the overall concept as far as the Jordan Hawkins thing is the team that he's connected to as far as Memphis, and Memphis has been doing moves. Even if the Pelicans don't do moves, you've known Memphis has made a bunch of moves. So with that being the case, it's nice to kind of tie the Pelicans to a team with a player we've been trying to get off of, right? We've been trying to get rid of Hawkins, a team that's just they in a rebuild, so they really don't give a fuck about it. And they have a plethora of players that they can move. They can move GG, they can move D'Lo, they can move Scottie Pippen Jr., right? They can move Isaiah Stewart. They don't really give a fuck. Jeremy Grant, they can move Jeremy Grant. Like that's another player on that roster that we probably hadn't considered. Now the salary is completely different, but I'm just saying that's a team that has a bunch of moving parts. So being connected to a team that has a bunch of moving parts is something that's ideal, right? So again, if it costs you a second, whoa, what's good, bro? Appreciate you tapping in for sure. Make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Memphis shouldn't even want to keep Stewart. He rebuilding. I think they like Stewart to, again, helps out their culture if they're there. They ain't got no reason to not move Stewart. But I think it could end up being beneficial. You hear me? So I do it. I think Stewart college coach is with the Pels. Who was his college coach? I don't know. But even still, that'll be a dope. If you were able to bring Stewart in right now, here's another question. If you do, let's say they do make that move, right? Here's another would you rather. Let's say they do make that move. Boom. You done spent Hawkins in the second for Isaiah Stewart. Who you starting center? Are you starting Stewart, Eves, or DQ at center? Who would y'all start? And that's your options. You'd have made the move. Boom. Now you got Isaiah Stewart. Would you start Stewart? Would you still start Eves? Or would you start DQ? Because I know I really believe DQ being in contention to start at center is on the table. So I just wonder who they're gonna make. Stewart. Okay. I'll probably start Stewart also. Vet defensively, run the floor, play hard. Stewart was a decent rebounder too, if I'm not mistaken. He was an okay rebounder. He wasn't great. Let me look up Isaiah Stewart stats real quick, man. Hold on. Isaiah Stewart. Now he only averaged 5 rebounds, but his minutes kind of got cut over the season. Well, no. So the last time he played last year he played only 20 minutes, and so last year 22 minutes, the year before that only 20 minutes, and he was at like 5 rebounds a game. But in 23-24, which was 3 years ago, he averaged 6 rebounds. The year before that, 8 rebounds. The year before that. So when he's around like 25 minutes plus, he's around 7 to 8 rebounds a game, which you'll still be sharing time with Eves and stuff like that. Eves to start the season. Okay. He's around, when they had him playing like 20 minutes a game, he's around 5 rebounds a game, but he was starting to shoot the 3. Not saying it's great, but he'll shoot it, and he's a really good rim protector and a really good defender. Hawkins for Stewart straight up doesn't work. Would have to include one of our minimum guys, Carlo Bryce Peavy. Why that don't work straight up? Do he make enough? Because Hawkins makes 7. Hawkins makes 7, and Stewart makes 15 even. And I think we have roughly 8 million, unless he got a trade kicker or something like that. Whoa, what's good, Louise? Man, what's good, Louisiana girl? Mike Hopkins was Stewart's college head coach. He's the head of player development in New Orleans. Yeah, I would do that. So again, that could be the target. That could be the target. DeJounte Murray, Zion, trade Queen Stewart. I think Queen going. I really do think they're gonna give Queen an opportunity to start. Insane defender. Want the 5? Yeah, that's yeah, that trade, the trade. I think you. I'm about to say. I think you could do them straight up. I think the salary cap work because I think we have like roughly 8 million, and I think Hawkins makes like a little over 7. How much? Hawkins makes like right at 7 million. So I think you'll be right at the numbers. Right at the numbers for us to work. If it's Hawkins to the Grizzlies, the only way it works is if we take back D'Lo. Again, we talked about like 2 for 1s or something like that. Hawkins for D'Lo straight up works. Take back like 1.1 mil. Yeah, because D'Lo make like 5. And again, I think D'Lo's possibly gonna be on the move. Both of them under the cap, so it works. I think you have options though. I think it's options. I think you could go Hawkins for Stewart, which will probably be the best player. Memphis over the first apron, so they can't take on more salary. Also, Stewart can't be aggregated with other salary. I think they'll be able. I'd have to see it, but I'm pretty sure if they are considering Memphis, it's probably for Stewart, or at least that's the initial target, Stewart. If they flip Hawkins for anything at this point, a lot of people got to stop the crying. That's the main point. If you could turn Hawkins into anything substantial, anything usable, right? You've won. You won. It's a good move. Should that be the only move? I don't know. But if they actually pulled off a move, then I think not. This is the thing too. You got to get something across the finish line. You got to get something across the finish line. You can't just keep trying to figure it out. You need to actually get something done. So that's the part that I find interesting as well. Here's a question I kind of wanted to discuss, right? Let's assume that they're running this roster back, right? And again, we don't know yet, but let's assume that they're running the roster back. Here's my would y'all rather? Would you rather run the roster back with Mosley, or would you have preferred them to hire Rondo and then run the roster back? Like, would you have been more okay with them running the roster back with Rondo or Mosley? That's the interesting question I have. Because I'm under the mindset that, like, if you had Rondo, who people had no idea about, people would be a little more okay running the roster back because you have no idea how they will play. But then some people would say, well, if I'm running this roster back, I need the proven coach of Mosley who's going to be able to maximize. So I always thought that was an interesting thought or conversation. Let me start some of these so we can come back to these, man. Bruh, I love y'all in the chat, dog. Shout out to y'all, bro. Y'all make doing these shows super fun. Let's see. Mosley, you rather Mosley, Rondo easy because he needs the runway to learn NBA head coach, and we don't have that kind of time. So if you did, so if y'all had the people who said Rondo, you said you would take Rondo. Shout out to Louisiana. Memphis has multiple trade exceptions. They don't have to aggregate him or trade him for a player. They also aren't over the first apron. They actually have 46 million in apron space. That's the thing too with Spot Track. Spot Track don't always update. SpyTrack don't always update right away. So when you in SpyTrack trying to do like some of the deals, they'll still be having players on the roster and they don't update the money right away. So sometimes it's good to see, but to Louisiana Gal's point, that's one of the issues that they have. So they really could just take Hawkins for nothing, or they could move Stewart, and we do still have well, we don't have full access to our MLE, but if you were able to get off of Hawkins and you sent Hawkins out for nothing, pretty much, if they just took Hawkins' salary and it cost you a second, you might get closer to having access to damn near your full MLE, maybe to bring in a player like Kuminga or something like that. That's going to be closer to the 14 or 15 million. So it's possibilities. Shout out to you, Louisiana Gal, always with the great information. It's harder to get players to buy in without experience, but so this is the thing with Rondo, people respect Rondo's knowledge of the game, but I guess you would take more of a chance of wondering, what does he know about actual coaching and then coaching on this level? People assume that he's going to be a good NBA coach. Are you going to have the runway to fail? People would be more okay with him not being able to win. Like, so are you trying to win? Are you leaning towards a rebuild? They said they're not trying to rebuild, right? And if that's the case, do you show you want the new coach for that? If you did hire Rondo, would it force you to make like more all-in moves? That's the part that I find always interesting. It's kind of like if they were running this roster back for the most part, or at least most of it, which coach would people prefer? Because I think the idea of a brand new head coach and the expectations compared to Mosley is very interesting of a thing that I think people would kind of go back and forth over the whole time. Even if they were over, they have time to get under before paying the tax. Absolutely. Could Rondo choose Zion out? He would be the player's best friend. Feel like we tried that. That would be interesting because I don't know. Rondo commands respect, but then is the least of your concern with him. The main issue is what direction he's leading the guys in. Rondo's personality and accolades demands respect off the rip. That's another thing too. Rondo's a champion, played with some of the best players, has played for the organization before. So I think most of the people would consider Rondo similar to how people probably gonna respect I think they're gonna respect Mosley also. I think Rondo as a former player would demand a different type of respect than most other coaches, and especially because everybody around the league looks at Rondo as a genius. Rondo got into it with the whole Celtics team. Rondo be out there probably trying to fight people. So that's the part. Poole and Hawkins for KCP, D'Lo, and Stewart. Well, KCP is expiring. D'Lo is an expiring. Stewart is you got a team option for. It fits. Realistically, you could. That's interesting. Do you think KCP and Stewart would help more than Jordan Poole if you're trying to win? I think you would have more defenders. D'Lo for Hawkins is an upgrade. You still got your expiring money. You don't have the 30. Well, technically, all of those players could expire. If they did it, I wouldn't be mad. I ain't gonna lie. If they did it, I wouldn't be mad. So I think that's something that could possibly work. That would be interesting. I ain't gonna lie. That would be interesting. Rondo would be better, in my opinion. More strategic guy, can still give the energy to play hard. I also feel he could have related more to our guys since it ain't been that long since he played. I agree with that also. You know what I hope for? Is what I would have liked. Rondo has more upside than Mosley. I think it's tough to say upside just yet because you haven't seen the guy in that capacity. What I would have liked is you hire Mosley, but still bring Rondo in as an assistant. I hope that's something that like they'll consider moving forward. I know Mosley had like his entire staff. I hope they continue to upgrade the staff moving forward. Like if let's say they have a decent year or whatever, and they was like, man, we want to add another coach to the staff, and you bring Rondo in moving forward. The only reason I think that they probably last time we was good, we had Rondo. I agree. I think one of the things with if they would have possibly brought Rondo in, I think Mosley has a style that he wants to use as far as like developing the players. And I don't think he wanted to have like a strong personality like Rondo out the rip, kind of like going against what it was he might have believed in doing. So I think maybe moving forward, they'll probably consider bringing in another assistant coach to that caliber or something like that. But I think that would have been, I was hoping for something like that. Like you could hire Mosley and then, kind of bring in Rondo and allow him to develop, get those years of service, kind of get more actual on the bench experience, time in the locker room, travel, learning the system under a guy like Mosley. Do for Rondo what some people did for you. He was with the organization, and if in a couple of years it don't work out, you already kind of got a guy that you was molded, that's in the building, that you was considering hiring anyway. But I guess more so the thought is they don't want to undercut Mosley's legs with a guy who was in consideration for the job. Gail wasn't fooling with Rondo with the allegations. Yeah, that's true too. Mosley isn't a coach you have to give training wheels like that, though. That's true. He has his own staff. Rondo will likely be early with where he needs better assistants to hold his hand. I agree too. Also, like with Mosley, he's been a coach for, again, Mosley got over like 20 years of coaching experience. So it's kind of like he comes in, and no matter what he has, this roster has been together long enough. And then, like, you really don't have no true rookies at this point. Like, even Fears and Queen are second-year players. They got a year of experience. If you're, like, looking to contend, he shouldn't have to go through no motherfucking learning curve. Like, he should be able to hit the ground running with this particular team. And some of the mistakes that Willie Green in his early tenure, because he didn't have a true head coach, in my opinion, I think he should have had, like, a real head coach on the bench next to him. He didn't have that. I think having Mosley in the staff and those dudes not sitting out a year, it should be easy for them to kind of transition and hit the ground running with this particular roster, which is why if they were going to run it back, I think you had to go with a more veteran guy. Mosley has a program he wants to implement, for better or worse. Rondo doesn't have a system and wouldn't for several years. Yet you be trying to figure it out. And you still got to try to figure out what works with this particular team. Mosley has to do that as well, because the system fits kind of what you had. You still need to modify that a little bit based off of what these players actually do once you get here. Here's a question. Here's another would you rather, since we kind of in the conversation of coaching, right? So Mosley got the job. Mosley signed a 5-year deal. If let's say the first 2 years, they make the playoffs. Like, not as, like, let's say first year, somehow they get in as like the 7 seed, right? They lose in the first round. The next year they make the 5 seed, right? So 2 years in a row you make the playoffs, but you lose in the first round. Would you rather that? Like, would you rather that, or let's say the first year they make a Western Conference Finals run. This year somehow they get in the playoffs, they make it to the Western Conference Finals, but they don't make the playoffs for like the next 2 seasons. At what point would you pivot from Mosley? And again, would you rather hey, we made the Western Conference Finals, but then the next 2 years we didn't make the playoffs? Or would you rather make the playoffs consistently, even if it was losing in the first round? Right? Now, I ain't talking about playing. Playing, you had to be a 7 seed, but like first year 7 seed, next year you was in the playoffs, top 6, but you lost in the first round. Which one of those situations would you rather? If I'm right, Stewart isn't tradable until September, so they could agree to a deal but wouldn't be open to. That's still fine. You could do that either way. You could do that either way. So like it wouldn't make a difference because a lot of stuff is done in principle right now. So it would work. Make the playoffs consistently. Okay, consistent winner. Tired of the 1 year on, 1 year off. Give me the consistency over a 1 year peak. So you would prefer just like progressively getting better, right? Where it's like, all right, we made because if you're a 7 seed, you still got to make the play in. But let's just say you're like, you're in the 7 seed and you just got to play that play in game, but you win, boom, you in the first round. You make the playoffs, you in the first round. And then the next year, let's say you don't have to get in the play in, you a 6 seed. And then, you made the playoff, but you lose in the first round, both matchups, right? As opposed to somehow they get in the playoffs and then they go Western Conference Finals, boom, everybody excited, shit like that. You lose in the Western Conference Finals, but then the next 2 years, no playoffs at all. Right? Like no playoffs. I wonder what people would prefer in that instance. Would it be because this the thing? Willie Green consistently made the playoffs and he made the playoffs twice, made the play in damn near his first 3 seasons, right? So 2 out of his first 3 seasons, he made the playoffs. And then they lost in the first round. One was competitive, the other one wasn't. Again, you didn't have Zion for each one, but people killed them on 8. It's not enough to be able to get into the playoffs and even playing that. It's like, well, I don't even really want that. Like, why can't you be better than that? Right? When realistically, if you think about the Willie Green tenure, it was kind of, you was at least consistently competitive until the last couple seasons. Consistently getting the playoffs because once you're in, anything can happen. I agree. So that's the part that's interesting is that, like, and I'm not saying the expectations shouldn't be high, but when we're sitting around, especially as fans, and we like thinking about the organization and the moves that's being made, and like Willie Green's first 3 seasons, again, people, you could be tired of the play-in as well, but 2 of those years you made the playoffs, right? 2 of those years you made the playoffs, and 1 year you had an opportunity, you just lost in the play-in, right? But you lost in the first round, but you were consistently competitive. And people was bitching about that. Now you haven't been competitive at all. You haven't even gotten to the play-in. And now people like, well, shit, I'll take now you talk about you'll take the play-in. So it's kind of like what you want. Do you want to be? And that's why when people have the questions about the rebuild, it's just kind of like, dog, you sure you want 5 years, 4 years of nothing? And then hoping when you're kind of good or kind of okay that you could get into the playoffs, you still gonna have to battle for it. Could always be worse. Better enjoy it when you got it. That's my thought. Whoa, what's good, bro? We got to make the playoffs next year. If we don't, we should blow it up. I agree. I personally think they have my opinion on what this season, which is why I'm not overly tripping about the all season. And that's why a deal with the Grizzlies, almost any kind of deal with the Grizzlies, because the Grizzlies have multiple players that can help you out and still keep your flexibility. Like if you were able to do Hawkins in a second for Isaiah Stewart, that helps you right now, right? Like, and again, if that was your only move, it wouldn't be great, but it would help. If you did, shout out to what was the deal earlier? I can't remember who posted it. The deal earlier where it was Poole and Hawkins for KCP, Isaiah Stewart, and D'Lo. Then it's kind of like shit. Even that, not bad based off what it is you giving up for it. So that's the thing that's kind of interesting. That's the thing that's kind of interesting. I think you could do either one of those moves, make your team better, and still have an opportunity to move forward. With the 49 win season, the team didn't need an identity when you have that level of rebounding perimeter defense. Your roster needs rebounding no matter the position. I completely agree. I think they're going to go, if they don't get a rebounder, which it don't look like they will, I think they're going to go more scheme, more strategic gang rebounding and hope for Queen to become a better rebounder and Eves to come be a better rebounder. And the team, I think they're going to prioritize rebounding more. If you go back and watch like the games from last season, they were so prioritized on transition that they would leak out early and just not even worry about rebounding as if they had great rebounders. It's like, no, don't prioritize getting in transition before you even get the ball. And then they gave up a lot of second chance points. So I think, like, if you just reprioritize what it is that they're doing, I think you have a better opportunity, right? When his contract is up, he's made a team more desirable place for a better coach. I agree with Willie. It was the effort the team was playing with in the game plan night to night. I agree with that as well. Like, I think by the time Mosley's contract is up, which I only really think they gave him 5 years, and not saying that he don't survive the 5 years, but coaches typically don't make it to the end of their contracts, right? But if he gets to it's going to be time to decide on Mosley by year 3. And if in those first couple years, let's say you don't make the playoffs this year, but you get better 36 to 40 wins, but then the next 2 years you make the playoffs based on what they're doing with the roster, then I think, okay, going into year 4 or something like that, they make more of an all-in type of move when you start getting around Fear's contract, Queen contract, stuff like that. It's already been 4 to 5 years of basically nothing. We should have been started this rebuild. It's technically been, like, in my opinion, it's technically been 2 years of nothing, because the first 3 years you were progressing, right? The first 3 years of Willie Green did 5 years. When Willie Green got here, you did 36 wins, 42 wins, 49 wins. Everybody got hurt, which people gave you the mulligan on that, right? Everybody got hurt, and then you had to fire Griffin to do it. And that's another thing too. I feel like when people know that they were about to get fired, people started to sabotage on their way out the door. I do not believe Griff's last year, he did a really good or tried to do a really good job. When he didn't get his way with removing Willie Green for James Borrego because of all the shit that happened before, I personally believe that last season of David Griffin, he was like, man, fuck that, moving the rest of the way. I'm not doing nothing. Because the Brandon trade, you could have got RJ Barrett back in that deal for Brandon Ingram. Like, that's a better player than what they ended up getting in Kelly Olynyk and Bruce. You ended up getting the first, but if you was gonna get the first either way, I think that's a better deal than what it was they got. So that's just my opinion. I think, and same thing with James Borrego, in my opinion, and Willie Green. On the way out the door, Willie knew he was on the high seat. I personally think he sabotaged the season before he got out. Listen, I'm getting fired anyway. Fuck it, I don't care. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Same thing with James Borrego, with the way that they was playing towards the end of the season. And then from there, you could like Willie Green, shout out to Willie Green. He just got him another opportunity with Dallas. I think he's on the Dallas coaching staff. But I think that's about Willie Green's first 3 seasons of improvement, and the time he did in Phoenix and whatnot, where he was a quality assistant. I think Willie Green could probably be a good assistant for a young guy now, and maybe learn, and who knows, maybe he'll be better his second opportunity later on. James Borrego, I just think he kind of threw us under the bus on the way out the door, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want him to give up on the flexibility when they can have next year in cap space. I'm assuming you talking about like the pool deal. This is the thing with Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart got a team option, so you could deny that and then still have like similar cap space. If you were able to do Hawkins for Isaiah Stewart, like straight up, realistically, it will provide more cap space if you don't bring Stewart back, because instead of $7 million falling off the books, it will be 15 if you deny his number. I remember Louisiana Girl said in the chat months ago that Griffin knew he was getting fired, finding out about a meeting with Dumars at the girls' Christmas party. He quit then. Exactly. Bro, that's back in December. Think about the stuff that could have been done in the meantime, like as far as roster moves or whatever. Like, I personally believe that a lot of those dudes, when you knew, and it's a personal element to it as well, when you know you about to get fired, you like, fuck it, I ain't working hard. This ain't my job no more. You kind of already know the writing on the wall. So I definitely believe that on the way out the door, he didn't really give a fuck. And I think that showed in the way that he kind of went out with the Brandon Ingram deal, in my opinion. Man, it was another thought that I had. I can't think right now. Say if we require Ben Mathurin, isn't that an upgrade from Herb Jones, or what base start? How would you see Ben being used? So here's another thought, right? I see if you were to acquire Ben Mathurin, here's y'all. Would y'all rather Herb Jones or would you rather Ben Mathurin? Or if you did get the BI trade canned after for bro, they traded BI for nothing, bro. And you ain't really get nothing from that but the first that they ended up having to move. But what would y'all choose? What would you prefer? Would you prefer Ben Mathurin to Herb Jones at this point, and where you know both of them are? And if you did acquire Ben Mathurin, who would you rather start? So for me, I'll give you my opinion. I personally think I would prefer Ben Mathurin. Obviously, is he the defender that Herb Jones is? No, but I think he's a true scoring threat, a true offensive threat, and he can score I don't want to say an elite level, but he can score like a professional scorer. He might not be like a CJ level scorer, but he's much more of a threat that teams have to worry about than Herb Jones. Similar to Sadiq Bey. Sadiq Bey really can shoot the ball, post up and stuff like that. So between Ben Mathurin and Sadiq Bey, I think you got more of a conversation. But as far as Herb Jones go, Herb does a lot of the little things too. But I just don't think Herb is enough of a threat to be able to really make your team dangerous if you have multiple people on the floor that can score the ball. So personally, I would prefer Ben Mathurin. Shoot the three, get to the paint, shoot the mid-range, handle the ball, all of those things. I don't really think it's much of a conversation. I personally believe if you kept Herb, I felt like Herb should be better utilized off the bench. Anyway, that's just me. I guess more of the question would be if Ben Mathurin isn't featured, because he still would be like what, your third scoring option if he was a starter. Are you comfortable with being a third scoring option if you're not isolating? Can you live in the catch and shoot situation? But I think it could work out also, because let's say he was not your second option, but more of your second isolation kind of score, it should make it easier for Trey to get more catch and shoot options. So I just think it's more versatile of a move, and makes your team more of a threat. Because if you start as Sadiq Bey or Ben Mathurin, don't matter which one, but you have a scoring threat there. If you sub him in with Sadiq Bey, it's all right, the drop off wasn't significant. Sadiq Bey still can score. Ben Mathurin can score. Bryce McGowan was able to shoot the three a little bit as well. And if that's your wing rotation from there, Trey Murphy still can score. Zion can score. Now it's all right, we really don't have nobody at that spot that can't catch and shoot, get to the rim, or be a true threat from the floor consistently. And every one of those players, maybe not Bryce, but Sadiq Bey and Ben Mathurin both can be 20 point, 30, can have moments where they I don't want to say can carry you, but we saw Sadiq Bey last year kind of couldn't keep you in some games or win you some games. If you have another player of that level, it's kind of all right, you can see it where you're really a threat. And I think that's really what they was missing when you move off of BI and CJ, right? Because what ended up happening, you needed from Jordan Poole, but what used to happen back in the days, you used to have BI, CJ, and Zion, right? But you still had Trey coming off the bench. So no matter which one of those guys sat down, you still had a quality scorer that you could lean on to come off the bench and be able to score. When you lose that threat, then you really kind of handicap in what you need from your starters. So I do Ben Mathurin all day. Would y'all rather Ben Mathurin or Kuminga? That's interesting. That's more of an interesting one, because Kuminga's more of an athlete off ball. He could score some too, probably a better defender, stuff like that. But Ben Mathurin's a better scorer. So I just wonder which one y'all would rather if it was between the two, Ben Mathurin or Kuminga. To be honest, I'd trade Herb and Hawkins for Stewart if they would just take it to move that contract. Ooh, you could probably, you could do her for Stewart straight up. I don't think they would do that, but like you could do her for Stewart straight up. Their money is about the same this year. That's what I'm saying. That'll be your identity, and I can see us getting to the postseason with Mathurin. I think Kuminga would be the next option after Ben. I ain't gonna lie. If you could do Kuminga, why y'all say Kuminga? Kuminga to Ben Mathurin. Why y'all say that? I kind of want to have the rebuild conversation also, because this is why, like, I've been thinking about people who saying they want to do a rebuild. So I have like my vision of what a rebuild would look like. They're probably gonna be around the same number, to be honest. I think they both looking at around 15. I think trying to get 15-ish. Trying to get 15. I don't know if they do, but I think that's somewhere around where they I can't see either one of them getting 20. So that's the part be interesting. Ben would be a better fit, provide shooting, toughness, rebounding, and he gets to the basket. I think I probably go Ben as well. Kuminga's chemistry with Queen would be good. Like Queen and Trey being able to be athletic off the ball, back cut, catch lobs. Yeah, he's more of an athletic player. So I guess you would see. I think Ben Mathurin's a much better shooter. As far as who's cheap, I think their numbers is kind of like the same. You'll take Ben. How are we getting Kuminga? We don't have the full MLE. So again, you got the possibility of. So you could look at it this way. Let's say you moved Hawkins into space, right? Let's say it cost you Hawkins in a second. Let's say it costs Hawkins in a second to move him. You don't get Stewart back, right? If you got access to the full or close to the MLE, you probably could get Kuminga or Ben with the MLE. Maybe Kuminga more than Ben, I think. I think Ben has somewhat of a deal with the Clippers. But hypothetically, let's say you did that, moved Hawkins for one of those deals, and then you have the space, and then you trade Herb for the other one. You probably do better trading Herb for Kuminga and then trying to sign Ben. But either way, like that's how I ain't gonna lie, I'd be fucking with it if you ended up getting like tried a way to get both, even though you probably had to take one. Ben get to the line. Kuminga is a better defender. That's again based on your coach, who you think. See, and also based on the coaching, I know you gotta defend. I know you gotta defend, but I think it's easier to have natural scorers as well, and teaching a natural scorer to defend than trying to get a person who can defend but can't score the ball. Right? Like if you had like just comparing Kuminga to Ben in general, right? If you had both of them, I think Kuminga's the better defender, probably better in transition, stuff like that. But we saw Ben Mathurin in the finals be against OKC's defense, which was, you know, a litany of great defenders, be unstoppable at moments in that series and truly be the offense. When it comes down to it, you got to be able to put the ball in the hole. Like you got to be able to go get buckets. And I think the more bucket getters you have, the further along you can go, as opposed to, you know, just defenders at the end of the day. If we get both Ben and Kuminga, I trade Herb and Hawkins. Poole should be traded for Turner or some center. I agree. If you did something like that, though, I think you really cooking to a degree. How good do you think that team would be? So let's say you got, because if you moved Hawkins into space, you could probably sign one of them if you got access to damn near your full MLE. Like if you offered Kuminga 14, would he come? Who knows? I don't know. If you offered it to Ben, would they sign for that? I don't know. It's possible. I don't really know what they market. That's the thing too. You don't really know what they market look like. But let's say you could do that and sign one of them. You trade Herb for the other one, right? So now your wing rotation. Listen, bro, I like having fun with these two. But if your wing rotation was fucking Ben Mathurin, Kuminga, Sadiq Bey, Trey Murphy, and Zion, With Bryce, it's like, all right, man, we could throw some, we got some lineups we could throw at people, and you still got Fears and Queen, DeJounte. Like, that's you could win in the regular season with that. And technically, Poole is still on the roster at that point as well. And you have Poole as an expiring. You still got Poole as an expiring in that circumstance. You might have to shit. And then you swing. You could turn Poole, go look to turn Poole into a big. You could probably try and turn. I don't think Cleveland would do this, but maybe you could turn Poole into whoa, what's good, bro? Appreciate y'all. Maybe you could turn Poole into again, Miles Turner. Maybe you could turn Poole into, maybe you go ahead and try and turn somebody on your roster into Jared Allen. If you got all this expiring money, who knows? Depending on what they look like, they'll probably have more centers of it. Maybe you go and consider a different type of deal, Poole and somebody for Sabonis. Maybe not. Maybe you talking the tax team then. Depending on how they go. If they can move Hawkins and not take a player back, I think the whole MLE would be available, and Memphis has room to do it. That's what so again, you sign somebody to the MLE, then you still got Herb that you possibly could trade. You might be in business. Memphis, Atlanta, New Orleans, 3-team deal. Let's come to the table. Say, dog, we cooking. We cooking. That's why these shows be fun. I think Poole bounce back and have good value at the deadline. I do think Poole will be better this year. I think last year was an extreme circumstance. Again, bro, as much as people want to say how bad he was, again, I don't think he should have been getting DNPs, but he still was averaging 13 a game. Like, he still averaged 13 a game with his confidence being shook. He was hurt, and he was like in and out of the rotation. That's a tough way. That's a tough situation to be in. That's a tough way to play, in my opinion. It's hard to like get your rhythm when you constantly in and out of the rotation. I don't know what my fucking minutes at. I don't like, it's too many unknowns. So let's have a discussion real quick about like a potential rebuild. We need to be trying to turn Murray into something. We should send him to Memphis with Hawkins and try to get Ty Jerome and Beastu. I still believe in Poole. Borrego was just terrible. So I think it would cost you too much to move Murray because Murray is not expiring. And I personally, this is just me. I wouldn't be mad starting Fears from day one, but I don't want to go into the season starting Fears for day one. So if I'm moving Murray will be good with Moses. I do think Murray gonna have a decent year. Finally being healthy, being available for the whole season. Hopefully he doesn't sustain some form of an injury. Hopefully he don't sustain some form of an injury. But if that's the case, then maybe they can get into some kind of groove, and he can still, I don't want to say be what we thought he could be, but maybe he can just play at some consistent level. Like, even when you brought him back last year, again, he was coming off the injury. He still couldn't get no rhythm. He was in a game, out of game. Like I just think that was a tough situation to be in as well, which is why I wouldn't be mad considering a deal to get D'Lo. Like, if you was able to do the deal with Memphis and you brought back Isaiah Stewart and D'Lo as well, I ain't mad at being able to run. I don't think D'Lo will cut into Fears' minutes to a degree, but it would give you another potential guard. God forbid something happened. Like, you always got to account for injury and how you're going to play if something like that happened, and D'Lo is still expired. So that's interesting to me. Start Fears, you got nothing to lose. Shit, you got games to lose. I need to see Fears during the season, bro. I need to see Fears. That's why I would have preferred to see Fears and Queen play Summer League. Like, based off how they ended the season, even though I think they, like, Fears for sure ended the season relatively well, I wouldn't start them from day one if we're gonna lose them anyway. Again, and that's why y'all listen, bro. That's why y'all ain't coming to the games. Y'all gotta be Murray gonna win you games. Murray by himself is not gonna win you games. But again, we talking about having Murray and having Fizz, right? And then having Zion and having Trey and like all of these other things. It's not one person in general that's gonna win you the games. Everybody kind of got to play well and be healthy and do their part. So if you get Murray for most of the season, and then the fears that was playing towards the end of the season and or better, and Poole just being on the court, like you should have a better rotation, but you can't just take one of them out of the rotation at all, because now you just weaken your team. You don't have enough weapons. Whoa, was good, bro. Has Poole been working out at the building or something? I hadn't heard anything. I haven't heard about him being in the building, but everybody, Poole be kind of like 0 dark 30 on some shit, right? He kind of just go do his own thing to a degree. But from Chaz knows some of his people. Poole is clearly putting in work. They say he's ready to rebound and come back and have a good season. He excited to my knowledge. I went to the games, we still lost. I'm definitely one of them people in that empty, bro. I'm in that all the time. And this is the thing. When you look at what they did last year, if you look at what they did last year, right? Just consistently throughout the season, it was hard to win games. And this is what I mean by that. James Borrego was changed. Willie Green and James Borrego was changing the lineups damn near every 5 games. I'm being at like every 5 games, you was looking at new lineups for different reasons, right? Like the first 5 games, you had the lineup that started. Then you say, not like rebound, like go get rebounds, meaning like bounce back. You know what I mean? Bounce back and have a good season. I think Poole gonna be good. I think he's gonna be in a lot more of his catch and shoot situations, like stuff that he's normally doing. Have more of his off ball, and not have to live in the isolation situation. I think he's gonna be better than what people give him credit for. Like the dude has like over the not last year, but because even last year he was averaging like 16 for a while. You know what I mean? I averaged 16 when he was playing. That was good at like for most of the season, he was like your 4th leading scorer until they completely cut him out of the rotation. And even with that, he still averaged 13 for the season, damn near 14. So he can score the ball. And it's not like he was playing 38, 40 minutes a game, nothing like that. Like he was doing this shit in under 20 minutes. In under 30 minutes. So I think you could get good production from Poole just with a solid solid minutes. That's just my opinion. We'll see. I did cancel my Pelicans back plus and went back to the Pirates. No, listen, I'm gonna keep my Pelicans plus because I gotta be able to watch these games for the games that I don't make. But think about this when we was talking about like the roster and the lineups and stuff like that. Like the first 5 games, you had a starting lineup of Poole was starting. Then you had Poole not starting for Jeremiah, like Jeremiah Fizz starting. And then you got to remember who was hurt. Like Eves got hurt in the first game. When Eves got hurt, then they started like Willie Green didn't even want to play Derek Queen. So then you had the games where Derek Queen was playing, and then when Kevon Looney got back, Derek Queen wasn't even in the rotation. Then Derek Queen at some point started starting, and then Poole ended up getting hurt. Then Sadiq Bey started starting, and then he wasn't starting. And then at some point, as you get further into the season, right, Sadiq Bey became a starter. And then there were times where Eves would start. Well, they had Queen started starting, and then they took him out the lineup. And then sometimes Eves would start, and then DeAndre Jordan would start. And then sometimes DeAndre wouldn't play at all, and then Eves wouldn't play, and then maybe Carlo would play and then wouldn't play. So like, think about like how can you get some kind of consistency, like at all? Like, and you when and then every night when you trying to figure out how to play. Because if you remember, one of the big storylines, and people forget this, but one of the big storylines during the season was he was trying to unteach a lot of the things that Willie Green had taught, right? A lot of the habits, we trying to just go back to basics and learn basic habits, right? Getting back, stopping the ball, transition, get like rebounding, like they was trying to learn basic shit. So you changing the lineup up while trying to teach basic stuff, and then they was giving them the excuse of we didn't have no practice time, right? So you had all of this shit happening in a 26-win season when you didn't have DeJounte most of the season. Jordan Poole got a bunch of DNPs. Not only was he hurt, Trey missed some of the stretches and stuff like that. So it's just like, if you go through the season and the nuance of the season, it's kind of like they should have been better than what they was, and then they had a bunch of blown games. Say you feel confident that Joe and them about to do a good move, whether they trade somebody or not, next move will benefit us moving forward. If you can move Hawkins, if they just move Hawkins, I think it's a good move. To be honest. If they move Hawkins for nothing, I think it's a good move because it allows you more access to your MLE, right? Excuse me. It allows you access to your MLE, which will allow you to sign a player. So that's a win, and you technically still would have a roster spot, or you could go trade for somebody. So if you did Hawkins for Isaiah Stewart, that's a win. So it's really more so what is it that they decide to do. So we'll see. But I think we're getting on the when it's starting to be reported that they're looking at making moves again. They tried to sign Zaire Williams and he just decided to go somewhere else. So they were on the verge of making a move, but I think they're probably going to start with the small move, and that's going to be the trickle effect into what else it is that they could do. Pierre signed a 2-way contract. Pierre Jr. and Hunter, who should get the last spot? Deal Buffkin. Buffkin easily if it's out of those players. I really think we should cut Hunter and give this 2-way to Deal Buffkin. Bro, listen, my 2 ways, I ain't gonna lie. My 2 ways would be I would sign, because you see real players right now getting 2-way deals. But if it's me, I'm gonna sign. Obviously, Pierre's gonna keep his 2-way. I will sign Buffkin to the other 2-way, and I will go get Tyler Smith that was with got drafted to Milwaukee and played for Dallas last year. He hadn't had a good career so far either, but he like a 6'10" shooter, stuff like that. I would take my chances on him before I sign Dia, in my opinion. I don't think Dia did enough and he like, again, he was I didn't think he did enough to show like his versatility, and then he showed that he could score the ball at times, but he wasn't as efficient enough with the scoring for me to be like, I don't know. Like, he wasn't as impactful consistently to say he played as many games. Kobe Buffkin, like you saw in the game that he played, is like, all right, even when they had other lottery picks, he looked like at times one of the better players on the court in pretty much every game he played in. So it's hard to not give Buffkin a spot. Tyler Smith, Buffkin, Pierre. Yeah, if y'all don't know who Tyler Smith is, go look up Tyler Smith from the G League. Not the G League. He got drafted with Ryan Highland, was like the last year to Ignite. I like Tyler Smith. He's a big that can space the floor, shoot the ball. He could do some things, but like we don't really see him. So again, if we talking about a 2-way guy, I would consider giving Tyler Smith a 2-way opportunity. I'm telling y'all, we'll look him up. Like, I can't do it right now. Hold on. And we'll watch some let me see if I can get a little Tyler Smith highlight, man. Yeah, this him right now, matter of fact. Hold on, people. I appreciate y'all patience. Make sure it's the same Tyler Smith. Yeah, that looked like him. Hold on. I definitely think D is squadron bound. Again, he a lefty. Shoot the ball. Yeah, that's him. Got some size to him. Again, if you was willing to give the two-way to Dia, I would also consider giving the two-way to Tyler. In my opinion, I think he's a little better, and he's young too, so it's fine. Put the ball on the floor, catch and shoot. Can block shots too. You talking about Tyler or Dia? I think I wouldn't mad if you still sign Dia to some kind of summer deal, playing with the squadron. But I like Tyler Smith when he was coming out of well, he went to the G League first, but again, if we talk about just somebody to take a chance on, that's who I would give the two-way to. Let me see if they got another hold on, man. Let me see if they got another video for Tyler Smith. Yeah, he used to play for Milwaukee. He got drafted to Milwaukee when I thought if he initially was thinking about, this was the same year that Eves got drafted. So I was hoping we could take him like in the second round, something like that. Catch and shoot. That's basically what he would be. A catch and shoot, off ball big. Dribble into attempt isn't my first choice. He like 20. Yeah, he not old at all. Like again, he got drafted. He was, went 1 year, played catch and shoot. Yeah, we spraying. He's a confident shooter. I'll say that. He's willing to shoot the ball. So again, if we talking about another two-way player that I would take a chance on, it would be somebody like him. And I think, bro, like you got to look outside your team as well when you talking about bringing in other players, especially for contracts like that, for two-ways. Most of your two-ways should be outplaying some of your people. Catch and shoot, be knocking that down. Don't trip. Not that. Again, Will he hasn't even really, and again, maybe he won't be good. He hasn't really got like a lot of opportunity as well, but you never know when a player's gonna be able to develop, what they'll look like in your system. So again, if we just talking about like the third two-way, I think you already know what it is you getting from Hunter Dickinson, and Hunter Dickinson Hunter not gonna play. Peyton Watson is a defensive monster. so like it's a little different when we talk about Peyton, but I can see it something like that, right? Takes him, you just give him a role, catch and shoot, space the floor, something like that. You could see him on this team in a two-way being able to just space and catch. You got open, realistically, you only got one because they haven't reported that Kobe Buffkin was getting the two-way spot. So right now you got Hunter Dickinson and Pierre Jr. on two ways. I see a Jabari Smith. Those players are higher like tier players, but you could see the talent and the potential and what he could be if he got an opportunity to play. This was, hold on, this is a little throwback, but this is when I was watching him coming out of college. This was his college tape. This was not college. I mean, again, he went to the Ignite, but you saw a lot more of what he was able to do then. putbacks, ran the floor. Always had been a catch and shoot guy though. Very confident with shooting the ball. Very confident with shooting the ball. So again, the athleticism was there to a degree, and we talking about a two-way. Run the flow, space, catch and shoot, banging those. Pause. So again, this is a couple years ago, but we just saw, again, that was in this year's summer league. He didn't have a 20-point game in this year's summer league. He's developed since then. And you see the confidence in shooting the ball and some of the things that he was able to do. But I'm just saying, if you gave him the two-way, if you like Malik Deer, I think you could take a chance on Tyler and be just as okay, especially if I'm looking at what Hunter was able to do. And I thought Hunter played relatively well, but like you can't see Hunter playing for you in the league. Like the foot speed just not there. So that's just kind of where I'm at. But if we looked at like a third two-way, he would be the person I targeted for the third two-way. So that's just me. It would be Pierre, Buffkin, and Check. Yep. If you can shoot well enough, I think he's 6'10, 6'11, something like that. So you got the size, you kind of force him to rebound. But again, this is a two-way guy. So you just hoping he develop. And if not, he gonna look good in the G League. He gonna look good in the G League. So I ain't mad. One block a game. Yeah, like he'll be all right. Like I don't think you have nothing to lose when you're talking about a two-way. It's not like you giving him a real contract. And if he develops into anything, you got him for cheap. You get him for cheap. You need to get a player like Hassan Whiteside. Hassan Whiteside came out of nowhere to be didn't Hassan Whiteside start off as a two-way too, if I'm not mistaken? And then developed into what he became when he got to Miami. So I wouldn't be mad at something like that either, but it's just that's kind of like who signed your boy Sharp, the big man. Somebody signed him to a two-way deal. Like I wouldn't have been mad if they did something like that either. Just somebody with like some size. Don't make them anymore during closes. No. Nah, the closest. They definitely don't make the Hassan Whiteside like that anymore. Drummond probably would be the closest thing to what Hassan. And then Duran not as tall as Hassan Whiteside was. Maybe Klingen is something like that. And we'll see. Whoa, what's good? Did we get him? Get who? Did we get who? But I'm not gonna play too much of the Tyler Smith film. Y'all get it though. But if I was doing the two-way, that would be the person I consider for the two-way, right? Let me ask y'all this because we was talking about wings. Let's talk about rebuild for a second. Whoa, what's good, bro? Appreciate y'all, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button, man. We're an hour and 30 in on a Thursday morning. You hear me? Hopefully, no, we didn't sign Tyler Smith. We didn't sign Tyler Smith. But I'm saying I would hope that with our third two-way, or I would take Buffkin, and I would personally look at removing Hunter respectfully, and I wouldn't be mad with turning Tyler Smith into that two-way, and that's even over Malik Deer in my opinion. And I think Malik Deer showed a little bit. It just wasn't consistent enough. I personally would take a chance on Tyler Smith being like a stretch forward for you. Just give him an opportunity to stretch. If you was gonna sign Marvin Bagley, and again, I thought we should have considered Marvin Bagley also, and he's not as good as Marvin Bagley. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying I would consider that type of player and see what he could be. That's just me. I've always liked Tyler Smith because I think we've always needed like shooting big men. And again, at 6'10", 6'11", however tall he is, he was always confident shooting the three. I just would take my chance putting those players out there and see if any of them could stick. Pause. So I kind of want to do like a would you rather for a rebuild, and let me know what y'all think about PG, Fears, and Murray solid. You saying the PG of Fears and Murray is a solid rotation? I agree. I think them together is gonna be good, and then you got that just forces Jordan Poole to not have to play on ball as much. I think you'll be able to maximize it. Him and Fears played really well together. People forget, and again, it was the backup Utah team when they was tanking. But Fears and when we started the season, when Fears was coming off the bench, when he used to have his minutes with watch the game, if his minutes with Jordan Poole, they actually played relatively well off of each other. And then if you remember at the end of the season, they had the game against Utah where Fears had 40 and Poole had, 34, 36 or some shit like that. Like they were fucking dynamic together. So I think if those two are your guards off the bench, you got some dynamic guards that could play off the bench and be like true scoring threats that teams are going to have to worry about defending. So, and that just gives you time until you figure out what to do with Murray. And if Murray bounces back and looks like anything close to what DeJounte Murray should look like, then you got a decent starting point. I think DeJounte is a starting point guard in the league, personally. Rebuild. I keep getting off track. Rebuild, right? So if you were rebuilding, how would y'all want to rebuild this team? Is it ship everybody out for picks, ship everybody out for young players, or promising players? If you were to rebuild, how would you want to go about doing it? Would you, so like this is what I mean by ship everybody out for picks. And like who are you shipping out? Right? Like let's say it's DQ and Fizz. Are you moving Trey, Herb, Zion? Are you just moving them for, because you probably not, I don't want to say you're not getting young players back, but let's just say you're not getting young players back. Like, what kind of players would you move said players for? Or you just kind of like, look, whoever gonna give me a couple first, just take them and then just give me a couple first and then we gonna call it at that. Like, how would y'all go about rebuilding this team? Because if it's me, I already have like somewhat of an idea of what I would try to do if I'm doing this. Only moving Trey if he acts out. You need a shooter to help Fizz and Queen development. Okay, so Trey is not somebody you move, right? Would you so Trey, let's say you don't move, like what kind of player would you say you would be willing to move Trey for? Let's say he does ask out, or is that even a rebuild? I guess. Like if that is a rebuild, Fizz, Murphy, Queen should be your main three. Okay, so y'all trying to keep Trey no matter what. Let me ask this: would this be more of somewhat of a retool, right? Let's say hypothetically, how would y'all view this roster? Because right now your best three players are who? Trey and Z. Move Trey for a star. What star? What star would you say you move Trey for? Because that would probably require going and get picks, and that's like giving up some of your picks, right? Like you probably have to give up, and in that case, is that a rebuild? So here's another. Would you rather rebuild or would you rather all in? Would you rather rebuild or say fuck it, we going all in? Dell Demp style to me is all in. We going all in. You can have the picks, we bringing in players, we trying to compete. Would you rather do that or would you rather ship out Trey Z and Trey Z, Herb, DeJounte, whatever? Rebuild. Okay. Keep Fizz and improve 3-level Z. All right. I would keep Trey if you want to stay. Young players, Zion, DeJounte, Herb. That's who you moving, or that's what you young players for Zion, DeJounte, Herb? I would just say, a tandem of Queen and Herb and Murphy. They play well together. That's who you're trying to keep. So let's what do y'all think it is? Right? What do y'all think it is? We can never go all in because nobody want to come here. We missed the all in because Jalen didn't want to. So this is what this is what you could do. This is what I guess you could do. Let's say today I prefer a rebuild, but I don't know if this market can survive the actual 3-4 years of rebuild. So rebuild means like what exactly? Be bad and like get picks. So it's kind of like, where would you send Zion and get, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, is it like, because Memphis, right? What Memphis did, Memphis sent their players out and got picks, right? That's their version of a rebuild. And now they got Edie. Now they got Edie and they have Edie and Boozer and Collier. Coward. I keep calling him Collier. Coward. Cedric Coward. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. My bad. My fucking glass is talking to me. I had to pause these. Okay. Keep Trey. I like how we rebuilding and trying to compete at the same time. Just don't want to add salary and try to compete. You can get your Zion replacement next year with the Bucks pick, hopefully. All right. Let me ask y'all this. All in, how would you feel about a team consisted of something like this? Let's say we were going to move Zion. Let's say you're going to move Zion. If you move Zion to Denver, and somehow got Peyton Watson and Cam Thomas, I don't know where they are in the apron to see if that trade necessarily will work, right? But if you sent Zion to Denver and got back Peyton Watson and Cam Thomas, how do you feel about Cam Johnson? I keep saying Thomas. I always do that. Cam Johnson. I wrote Thompson too. Thomas. Cam Johnson. How do you feel just on face value about that deal? Zion to Denver for Peyton Watson and Cam Johnson. Like, is that a good move in the rebuild, like in moving forward into your rebuild? Because you would have to sign Peyton Watson long term. Cam Johnson is a expiring contract. I think Cam make 21. You probably got to give that's the best deal you would get for Z. I agree, because the reason I even say it is because in Denver, I don't know. I'd have to look back at the cap rules. I don't know if you could take back more salary in the signing trade. You wouldn't make that deal. Why not? But if you got Peyton Watson and Cam Johnson, right? How would you feel moving forward? So then you would have your starting lineup. I mean, you still have to go on and move DeJounte, but just hypothetically, like, you could move at that point, you could kind of move DeJounte for whatever, because once you move Z, you move whoever. And then you move DeJounte. Let's say you just said fuck it and move DeJounte for, like, it would have to be salary and picks. Who would even take the only places? I think, even like, every time we talk about DeJounte, I keep coming back to the same couple teams. Queen would be an offensive hook. Watson is a good fit. I think the lineup could be okay, because then you would have to just move DeJounte for damn near anything if we talk about this version of a rebuild. But let's just say you move DeJounte for, I don't know, man, fucking Jalen Green, if they would do it, or anybody, if they would give you anything for it. Zion better than anything in his value realistically give you back right now, unless they added picks to it. They would still need to be other moves. Who would be your best player at this point? If you rebuilding, it wouldn't matter. You could all. So again, if you rebuilding, it really don't matter. You could take. We say Trey, right? Would you be willing to move Trey to like Milwaukee for any of their young players? Because they kind of in a rebuild too. Initially, where if you move, would you move Trey for Warren Rollins? Let's say trade for Warren Rollins, you could probably pay to go get Ware. Because again, you still have players that you can move. Trade for Warren, like you probably could get a pick back. They could take him into the salary. It'd be a cost cutting move, right? So then you would go. You have to do something with the only if Trey acts out though. So then you're talking about, and then you either give up DeJounte, you give up Herb, whatever picks you could get for him in that case. I do the trade, but they have to throw in one of those Miami picks. I think you could, if you were going to rebuild, but then why would they want Trey if they rebuild him? Because Trey's still young enough, cost control. Who knows? Trey got potential to be a star. He probably go over there and be one of their best players, depending on what they do with Hero. Why can't the Pelicans make a move and get Joker? Because Joker is elite, and you'd have to give up your whole roster, and nobody would just trade Joker. Can the franchise survive 3-4 years in New Orleans with Fizz, Jalen Green, Watson, Murphy, and Queen and picks? We already don't sell tickets. Ooh. I was thinking about that too. That's why I was like, if you go Zion for Watson and like Cam Johnson off your bench, you did DeJounte for Jalen Green, and then that would just start a lineup, and then you maybe, but again, you still should technically have picks, right? Then your picks would have to come along. I personally still believe in Z. Who am I trading for? Where I trade off. I ain't gonna lie. I'd be willing to give up a first for Ware. And we talking about Hawkins. I'd be willing to do Hawkins in like a future first for Ware right now. I do Hawkins for Ware. I do Herb for Ware. If I had to give up Poole expiring and take back Miles Turner just to get Khalil Ware, I would do it. I would trade plenty of people to add Ware to this roster. To be honest, that's just me. Yeah, I would do all, bro. I would trade almost anybody on the roster to add Khalil Ware if it's me. Like I said, I would do Hawkins in a future pick, and when I say a future pick, like a 2030 type pick. Give me Hawkins in a 2030 first for Khalil Ware. I'd do that today. Herb and whatever, like give me Ware and whoever that make the salary work. I'd do it. Herb for Ware in the first. They better not offer me something like that. I'd take that for sure, but I don't know if you could get a first from Milwaukee for her. But I'd do it. I'd be willing to take back. I personally, and I know people talk about the salary, I'd be willing to take back bad salary if it included like a good player. That's just me. I feel like cities like Memphis and Portland don't have any other sports team that could withstand a rebuild. We tear it all down. This team won't be here in 5 years. We barely survive now. So like, I definitely don't think that people would go to more games if the team was going through a rebuild. The only thing is if you added a Peyton Watson, I think Peyton Watson is so young, and like the upside of Peyton Watson, the potential of, because if you did that and didn't have to move Trey, so now you got Peyton Watson. I think Peyton Watson like 23. Trey is what? Trey about to be 26 or something like that. Trey older than Z. Is Trey older than Z? I think Trey older. Yeah, he a year older than Z. Hawkins and Bucks swap next year. Would you do it? No. For Ware, yes, I would do it. Y'all can't ask me about Ware, bro. Y'all can't ask me about Khalil Ware. I'm like super biased. Spears, Trey, Watson, Queen, Ware. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad if we talking about a rebuild. And then on my bench right now, you technically still would have Sadiq Bey, you got Jordan Poole, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would help maximize those dudes. Right? And then you could move DeJounte for whatever. You can move DeJounte for whatever. You could let Poole expire. And then you could kind of see. But if that's your roster and you still have to draft players, and then at some point, if you chose to, you could probably move trade for something. We've been building for 25 years. We will survive. Maybe. Ware can play next to Fears and Queen. He rim runs and shoots threes. Bro, listen. If you look at Peyton Watson, give me that shit. Give me that shit too. Give me that too. Time Business says Gels can never sell the Pelicans until she dies. That's in the will. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, under these circumstances, you are hoping that like your players become stars, right? You hoping your players become stars or better fits next to each other. Because initially, one of my thoughts was if you traded Trey for Michael Porter Jr., just in general, who do y'all think would have to give up the picks? Who would have to give up picks in that deal? Like, would you have to give up a pick to get Michael Porter Jr. for Trey, even with trade value? Or is it kind of like a 1-for-1 deal? Or do they have to give you, the Nets got to give you a pick for Trey? I'd imagine so, right? I'd imagine so. Would you do Trey for MPJ and picks? If you was willing to extend them, and then that lineup would be like, she closer to selling than she ever was every day she wakes up. Man, Gail, I think Gail chilling. This is one of the things too about Gail. And I think Gail don't get a good enough reputation for this, is that Gail hired people to do their jobs. Like, she hired David Griffin and told David Griffin to do his job. And then when David Griffin got here, the first thing, David Griffin came off of going to 4 straight finals, got the Pelicans job and said, I don't like the way that we did it there. I'm going to do it completely different because it's more organic and it's more sustainable, as opposed to the recipe that you just had that won you those games, that won you those seasons and made you competitive. You was competitive. Now, again, you had LeBron and stuff like that, but you tried to go, look at him dunking that bitch. You tried to go completely against the grain for what it was you had been your most successful doing when you got here. So, like, I don't blame Gail for that. Ain't nobody tell you keep Alvin Gentry, and then when you fire Gentry, you hire Stan, and then you fire Stan, and then hire Willie, and like, you could have just kept Stan and told the players to deal with it. Another issue that I have with like New Orleans is we value role players way too much here. We value role players way too much. Like, there was times where, and I liked Herb Jones, but like before the last couple seasons when Herb was bad, people were saying Herb Jones was untouchable. Man, Herb Jones can't go nowhere. Herb Jones got a day. Stan Van Gundy got fired because Josh Hart mattered. Josh Hart mattered. It's like, why we give a fuck what Josh Hart got to say? Come on, man. What are we doing? Brooklyn, because Trey still have 3 years on his deal and Porter and expiring. Absolutely. Brooklyn, yep. Our future hinges on Fears, Queen, and the Bucks pick. You get a top 3 pick. We can get rid of everyone and load up like OKC and Stars. I agree. I would like for them to explore a deal that would allow them to keep transparent with MPJ. That's one of the deals that I was thinking about. I would do today, and it's not even a all-in move. I don't think it's an all-in move, but I would be looking to do like Poole, Hawkins. I don't know if they would do this, obviously, and maybe you have to throw in a pick, but if they can't keep MPJ, Poole and something, if it's Poole and Herb for MPJ, And then I give MPJ the extension. And then your lineup would be Griff should have told Josh Hart to sit the fuck down. No, that's what bro. Come on, man. You can't be listening to Josh Hart, bro. You can't be listening to Josh Hart when you Josh Hart and even BI to a degree. And BI was one of your stars, but it's just kind of like, dog, I hired this dude because I thought he knew what was best for y'all, right? And we ain't even get it. You ain't even get a chance to fully see it through. You can't be listening to those people. City reported 2 hours ago. You gotta watch City, dog. They're shopping Turner and Kuzma. Well, of course. But if I would be willing to do I was just catching that to show you sure Trey is a better shooter than Bane. No necessarily support that. If it's shout out to y'all, man. My average is technically asking about the show we did last night about Trey and Bane as shooters. To that point, what I mean is Trey as a catch and shoot shooter, I think has better volume, shoots from more range than Bane. But even though I think Bane is just a better overall player. So as a shooter, I think Trey is a better shooter when put in the right position. I think Bane is just a better overall player than Trey. That's just for that. Well, and whenever you watch this, Ivory, that point is for you. But to the point we making, if we're going to be listening to role players, right? That's a Turner and Kuzma for DJ Pooler Herb. I like Kuzma. But and I'd be willing to consider it, but man, I don't know. I'd be willing to take Turner deal, but I think Kuzma make like 20 mil or something like that too. So I don't know. You just want the contract. See, people torn on Miles Turner too. People torn on Miles Turner. So like, let me see if I can pull up some MPJ highlights, man, because Trey versus Michael Porter Jr. is a very interesting conversation. But if you could add Trey, Michael Porter Jr. to Trey and Zion, and your starting lineup was DeJounte for the season, Michael Porter Jr., Trey, and even if you had Queen, like I think you could be okay. That's like 47 mil. Turner not expiring though. Turner got money. Wait, what you mean? 47 mil where? For who? Kuzma expiring? MPJ a better rebound. MPJ a better player, in my opinion. MPJ a better player. I don't know if he a better fit. I don't know if Trey a better fit, to be honest. I would like to have both of them. Kuz and Turner combined. Oh, okay, yeah, because of the 20, and then Miles make 27. Yeah. No, look at MPJ, bro. See, I would be trying to turn Poole into MPJ. And if my starting lineup, because I think he's like, I think you could get MPJ right now. It really don't matter. You add MPJ to Trey, you don't pick out of the two. That's my thought. Because if my lineups was something like, now there's another like crazy idea or thought or whatever, I'm not giving them the pick. Again, I think I need the pick from them to be able to re-sign to take Michael Porter Jr. and Trey would be cost control. But let's say hypothetically you was rebuilding. Do you even want to play like MPJ in a rebuild? Or you going away from that and you just take somebody worse? Fish, Trey, MPJ, Z, and Queen. That's You see the vision. You see the vision. And I think that lineup could work long term also. I think that's a lineup you could build around in the future or whatever. Because again, now I can still move DeJounte for something, or you could with lineups like that. I think you still can consider other players and other wing players, and they'll just be better fits because you have better spacing. It'll be shooting all over. Whoa, what's good, man? Appreciate y'all. Can y'all count on Zion this year? I think so. If I'm being honest. You gotta the team has to be available. Oh my gosh, MPJ. Bro, could you imagine the 3-point shooting you would have if you had MPJ, Trey, and then Sadiq Bey with how Sadiq Bey shot the ball last season? And not to mention, if you still were able to, what would it take to get MPJ? You think we could get MPJ? I think you could get MPJ. I think you could get MPJ if they don't work out an extension. If they don't work out an extension, you could get MPJ. So it's all about what you trying to do, and do you value a player like MPJ? But I would, again, to me, I'm looking at, I think they're targeting the wing position, but I'm looking at MPJ. I think Peyton Watson is a little more challenging. I think the only way you get Peyton Watson is you got to give up picks. I think Coach Moore ain't playing around. I think they're gonna be good, bro. I think those dudes, gonna be focused and locked in. We killed CJ, BI, Trey. We killed with CJ, Trey, and Z when BI was hurt. I agree. MPJ is like an upgraded CJ. That's like an upgraded CJ. And you technically still never played with a point guard. They ran point Z most of that time. So if you can have, Fears on the court with how Fears is able to get to the lane, like, how old is MPJ? How old is Michael Porter Jr.? 28. Man, give MPJ that 3 for 40. Give MPJ the 3 for 40. And I think you got something. Yeah, no PJ, CJ was playing out of position. So let's say you moving forward in your line. And again, you got more size because MPJ got some size to him, right? That's a tall. What's MPJ rebounded? MPJ averaged 7 rebounds a game. 7 rebounds a game. I would do it. That helps your rebounding in the herd position. And you just way more of you could put the ball on the floor. Y'all got great talent, just need discipline. Imagine the same players on Miami where they don't tolerate that foolishness. I agree. He not swinging that bitch, though. If you knock down, I ain't swinging it either. MJ back is 80, though. That's the risk. But MPJ had been relatively healthy the last couple years. Let me look at MPJ games played. He played 52, but he sat down. So he had let's say he played, that's the rookie season. So he played 55 his rookie season and 61. So 22-23, he played 62 games, 81 games, 77 games. And then last year he played 52 games, but they shut him down. They shut him down at some point. We be lethal with Trey, MPJ, and Z. I agree. You give him the 3 for 40. All their contracts tie in together by when you getting ready to play to pay trade. If you ain't giving up no picks, you still got your picks moving forward. And even if you got to give up a pick, you give up the future pick, right? You give up like the 2030 pick or some shit like that. If you give up one of those with like pool contract, I ain't tripping. Cause you still got like avenues to maneuver. Don't let you be able to do it with like DeJounte and Herb. Like if you could get MPJ, for example, for like how much does DeJounte and Herb equal? DeJounte and Herb equal 50. Yeah, DeJounte and Herb equal almost 50. Let me see. 30. How much does DeJounte make? 32. And Herb this year, 14. No, that's only 46. If you did DeJounte and Herb, I don't want MPJ and Trey passing on no threes. No, if you could do DeJounte and Herb, let's say it was DeJounte and Herb and a future pick for MPJ, right? And you still had Poole expiring that you could move, and then you added like you was able to trade. You could do it if you wanted to. You could trade for like you could trade Poole for you could trade Poole for Turner if you want. Not again, that would keep Queen on the bench. That would keep Queen on the bench, but you'd have options there. MPJ, I got MPJ in that order. Well, I think I got Mathurin over Kuminga. MPJ, I think is the better player out of them. So I would say MPJ, Watson, Ben Mathurin, and then Kuminga. If it's me. Queen passing the trade and MPJ come on. I ain't saying it's not. I'm just, again, you still, bro, in that situation, you still got Eves off the bench. But again, if I could have Ware or like Turner shooting or something like that, because now I'm looking at the 30-something million expiring from Poole. What can I turn that into? What can I turn that into? He's gonna get 50 plus annual. He's not gonna get 50, dog. He gonna stay in the 40s. Shout out to Louisiana Gal. Louisiana Gal said the other night on the show that MPJ is looking for like a BI type deal. And BI got 3 for 40. So I think he's looking to stay kind of around where he is. And again, I do 3 for 40 on that. Oh, you know I'm shooting that. Queen faking the oop, the trade addition to MPJ for the 3. Okay, stop. No. You imagine like how you have to stack the paint with Zion, like how people gotta pack the paint with Zion, right? Because if you don't have 2-3 people in the paint with Z is a bucket, but being able to dish the MPJ and Trey, oh, I'm shooting that. Man, that's crazy, dog. MPJ could walk after this year. I'm taking a rental. Listen, I ain't trying to let him walk though. If you kept like your next 2 years picks and made that deal, I think you in position moving forward. The 3 years 120, they gotta send out Herb. You can have Herb. Again, the deal I'm trying to make, and I don't think they make it, is because they got enough point guards over there, so they don't need DeJounte per se, right? They don't need cap space, so you probably would have to incentivize them with a pick if you were doing like DeJounte and Herb, right? You probably have to send out a pick to incentivize it. Is he good on defense? I think you could play good team defense. As saying that he getting a steal. As soon as you say that he get a steal in the highlights, bro, MPJ a champion. Oh, I'm shooting that. No. That would be my target right now, because how I feel they should build this team. If you talking about competing, right? you talk about getting a little bit better. You talk about getting a little bit better every year. That's how I would like to do it, right? If I could turn any player into a positive player, like for example, if you did a deal like that, right, and you did let's say not Hawkins, I'm sorry, you did Poole and somebody and you ended up getting MPJ, right? And then, or if you were able to do, and you'd have to use the pick to do it, but if you did whoa, am I good? Whoa, what's good, people? Am I good? Are we back? Are we back? I don't know if we still. Am I back live? Hold on. It say we still rolling. Oh man, I don't even think it was. I don't even think it was the fair use. I don't think it was the fair use, man. I think my StreamYard crashed for a second. Like my stream, because the YouTube the YouTubes was still playing. So I just think, man, they can't stop us, dog. They can't stop us. You heard me? Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all for sure. Yeah, man. I think I just had the StreamYard website might have crashed for a second. But I don't really want to take no chance either, because normally the last time when I had a video or whatever, they pretty much blocked they blocked my whole page. They just cut my stream. So I don't know. We'll see. But appreciate y'all, man, for sticking around. You heard me, especially when when we had something like that happen. I guess we'll see in a little bit if I get the email. But we Gucci. Murray, MPJ, Zion, Queen won't mind the center position. I think MPJ saw a rebound. Absolutely, because MPJ a really good rebounder. Size, you could go a more team defensive philosophy. And then if you played, because you could play Queen. Do y'all think Queen should be the starting five moving forward? Let's just have that discussion too. Well, who would y'all rather start at the five? Would y'all rather start Queen or Eves? Let's have that discussion real quick too. Would you, based off who we have on the roster right now, would y'all rather start Queen or would you rather start Eves? Hell yeah, he should. Talking about Queen easy. So what's y'all opinion on like starting Queen? Is it that you feel like Queen is just a better player than Eves, even though he's probably not an ideal 5? Like what do y'all feel about like the difference between Queen and Eves in starting? Because I personally think Queen is a better player than Eves. I think if Z gets traded, Queen should be the 4 and Eve should be the 5. I agree. Queen got that old man game as a young man. He does. I need him to be. Queen can only start. Eves can only start if you benching her. DJ, Trey, Z, Queen, Missy. You think you should start Eves because of what? The rebounding? Like why should? Like what is it because of the defense? Like why would you prefer Eves over Queen? I think it's obvious that Queen I think is the higher upside play. Let me see if I pull up Eves stats. Eves in 2 years, that's last year. Eves in 2 years, his rookie year he averaged 8 rebounds. He averaged 9 and 8. And then last year, again, his minutes dropped a lot too. He went from 26 minutes to 19 minutes. And then last year he averaged 6 and 6. 6 and 6. Yeah. Queen is the best he was the best rebounder last year. That's the thing. He was the best rebounder on the team. So but I also do believe he gotta be better. Queen gotta beat him out and quit being out of shape, isn't it? I agree with the being out of shape part. The rim protection that Eves is the reason. Herb and Missy should never be on the court. That's my issue too. Neither one, like Herb just would have to shoot so much better, and I don't know if he can. That's where I'm at. If you rebound, you could play. Like if Queen can average 10 boards a game, 10 or more, I'm like, and not like the pat around rebound. So like if he could just get 10 boards, right? Which is why if you had MPJ being able to get 7 and that spacing, I think you could live with starting Queen at the 5. The rim protection of Eve is better, but Queen is the higher upside. I think he opens up more. For the offense than what Eves does for the defense, if that makes sense. Eves has to become, though, if you do that Isaiah Stewart deal, it would just help so much. You get MPJ, Queen can start. I think that's who you need to target. And I don't even look at that necessarily as an all-in move because MPJ technically still is. If MPJ is not signing the extension in Brooklyn. If he's not signing the extension in Brooklyn, that's what I do. Let's see who wins the spot in camp and preseason. That's where I'm at too. Like I feel like when we get to preseason and training camp and all of that spot should be up for grabs. That spot should be up for grabs for whoever performs better. And then I guess who performs better could be subjective because now it's again, would you rather the uptick in offense with Queen or whatever the uptick in defense is with Eves? But also, how much does your other players play better with each other as well? The rebounding of Queen and not needing to pass the ball makes our transition better. Or being able to pass the ball. I agree. Honestly, every spot except for Z and Trey. I agree with you. Me and Chaz had the conversation last night talking a little bit about DeJounte. If you got Stewart, bro, if that was your off season and you got Stewart and MPJ, that's a significant of enough change to where you not running the roster back. Like that's a significant enough change in both aspects, right? Of the things you needed. You needed somewhat of a big man, even though Stewart's not like he don't really address the rebounding, but you would have some depth. MPJ helps your rebounding and he helps your shooting and he improves you just getting better as a player, as a team. I would do that shit, bro. I would do it. I think MPJ, like my two biggest targets of the offseason would be MPJ, and MPJ not realistic until Brooklyn decides that they're extending him. Right? So the longer MPJ goes without an extension, the more realistic it is to make that type of deal. So that's also one of those deals that you could see during the season. Sadiq Bey better than Herb. He performed like it last year. He was one of the better players on the team. Just from a scoring standpoint, I don't want to say defensively he was better than Herb at all, but he played solid enough. Hold on. Because if you look at their numbers from last year, hold on, man. Points per game. I don't know. Can y'all see this? Z, you running there with no PG? What? Hold on. Z, Trey, MPJ, Queen, Stewart. Start this lineup. No. How do y'all fit? Who do y'all think is the better starter out of Fears and Queen? Like the better player out of Fears and Queen? Because a lot of people feel like Fears is the better player, but we keep looking at ways that Queen ends up starting. So how does that work? If Fears is clearly the better rookie, but ends up not being in the starting lineup before Queen, would y'all feel some type of way about that? Zion needs to become a 3-level scorer, play small forward. I 100% agree. You got to get Zion away from playing the full, in my opinion. But he kind of would play the 4 if you did have like an MPJ. Well, I think either one of them could play it to a degree. But I think Zion will be like a super, like if you could look at it like the Denver roster, Zion will be like a supercharged Aaron Gordon. Like he'd be a souped up Aaron Gordon. So then you'd have, your point guard, and then Trey would technically be who he would be like your Bron, like that's because that's who played like the 2 for them. So you would have Trey in that position, then you'd have MPJ in MPJ position, Zion doing what Aaron Gordon did, but like a souped up version of that. And then I guess you look at Queen as like a super lower tiered Joker. Realistically, that's kind of what your lineup look like. If you got Fears starting, so let's say Fears is your Murray, Trey is your Bron, Z is your Gordon, MPJ would be MPJ, and then Fears, like you building it out that way. Fears is safer, Queen is riskier, like he can be Joker or a turnover machine. I don't like them. We're not obviously comparing Queen to Joker, but I get what you're saying as far as like how they run the offense and stuff. They doing all of this for Queen and trying to prove themselves. We're right on trading for the pick. Yeah, I agree. But also based on the bigs that you have, he's probably the best big. So yes, it's a little bit about proving them right. But if you just looking at putting the best players on the court, he right there. Where's Jordan Poole? Jordan Poole played 39 games, only played 39 games last year, under 23 minutes a game. So at 24 minutes a game, and still averaged 13 points. Still averaged 13 points. So Trey was your leading scorer. Him and Z was pretty much even. And then Sadiq Bey was right there after that. And then after Sadiq Bey was DeJounte with 16 in his 14 games. And then you had Fizz with 14, Poole, and then DQ. So, like, this the thing about, and not to, like, talk about Poole for a second, but Poole averaged pretty much the same thing that Jeremiah Fizz averaged in less minutes and less opportunities to play, also while playing inconsistent, like without getting the opportunity to play. Play your best players after Q. Yeah, I think, listen, man, I like Eves, but again, if Eves a rotational big, then let him be a rotational big. I don't think Eves is a starting center personally. I think he could spot start for you. And even if I don't think Queen is a 5, I think Queen is the best big that we have. So if you're saying you want to upgrade and get somebody better than both of them, I completely understand. But again, for Queen to be able to start, he's got to average a minimum of 8 to 10 rebounds a game. Fizz and Queen offer what they need as the front and backcourt players. I think they're both as good as one another. They're both first team all rookies to me. They had a lot of ups and downs. Queen throughout the second year. I think Queen is a rotational big too. I don't think he is a starter right now, but just based off of what we have, like based off the team, I think you almost have to. What did bro? Eves kind of like Eves played 66 games, only played 20 minutes a game. DQ played 25 minutes a game. So in 25 minutes compared to Eve's 20 minutes, DQ averaged, let's look at the rebound. Let me do it that way. DQ averaged 7 and Eves in, 5 less minutes, averaged 6. So that was relatively close. DQ got to be a better rebounder. But it's just again, he had more defensive rebounds. Eves was obviously the better offensive rebound. He's more athletic. Eves was almost at 2 blocks a game. Again, I think you could just do it. That's not saying that Eves don't need to play. We should be picking out of Missy and Herb instead of Queen and Missy. I agree. Because I think Queen should start the 4 Sadiq. And I personally don't want to start Sadiq Bey. I want to bring Sadiq Bey off the bench to have more scoring threats off the bench in the second unit to be able to sustain throughout the game. So I agree with you with that one. To be honest, I don't want Eves. I don't know what Eves is. He had a rookie season, the season the coaches were against him. Let's see what he does. Everybody needs the opportunity. Queen was breaking records with the ups and downs. I agree. Queen season really Queen season is really, he has some really good money. So his career high on the season was 33. Let's see. Let's view his top 20 stats. I probably shouldn't be doing this while I'm on the stream. I probably should remove it so we don't have to go through it that way. Let's see. Let's look at Derek Queen top games. So DQ had now this the part that a lot of them are in losses. So against San Antonio, he had a 33 and 10. He had a 30-22 game. Then he had a 30-9 game, 26-7, 25-11. 22-9, 21-8, 21-7. It's just a lot of these games you're not winning. But let's see, in his highest minutes. When these games were played also matters to me. These are the last couple games of the season, I think. In here, yeah, these the last 2 games of the season. They was getting their asses beat. But he was 11 for 20. He shot that bitch 28 times in that 30-22 game. Queen's third quarter with the Spurs, man, was so good. The 30-point triple-double. He's had some good games. No training camp, inconsistent minutes, role because Burger didn't like him. He was a rookie. Now, I will say in Queen's defense, him going to the bench and him like sulking over it and being upset, like I didn't like at some point when they felt like he was a starter, like he started coasting a little bit, like you had made it. No, you still gotta play. I know. I'm not saying it like about Queen specifically, but I'm just saying in general, like a lot of his good games, and this, I guess this is the point that Chaz was trying to make. A lot of his good games don't result necessarily to wins, and I don't fully blame Queen for that. I blame that more on like usage and how the games were being played, defense, inconsistencies, all of the other stuff around them. My issue with Queen is when he started the sulk, but again, and even when he was playing, when he was playing well, and they were like trying to run the offense through him and stuff like that, it's not always going to be, the offense isn't going to always be run through you, bro. You still got to be able to give the same amount of effort and shit like that. But again, there was a point where he was making a push for first team all rookie. Remember, they was considering him at one point, him and Fears at certain points of the season was in the rookie of the year race and then got sat down. Like, that's the second time we did that. Even if you remember when Hawkins, his rookie year, was on pace to break like the rookie record and shit like that. And then Willie Green sat him down for extended periods of time during that. So it's like when you a rookie and you pushing for like, you on pace to do something great, and then you get sent to the bench for a team that's not really winning, or you feel like you doing your part to produce, but what you should be doing, you definitely don't want to hear none of what these dudes got to say. So that part I completely understand. I definitely understand that part. I'm not even trying to overrate Queen, given all the policies and coaching staff for a rookie. He did well. Absolutely. He did I thought he had a solid rookie season. Dave saying the Pelicans are in trade talk with Memphis about Jordan Hawkins so that Jill Dumas can acquire Ben Mathurin. Again, we talked about that. If you move Jordan Hawkins just for space, even if you got to give up a second to do it, right? But you acquire Ben Mathurin on a full MLE. I think what that allows you to do is that allows you to turn around, take Herb Jones and move Herb Jones for something else. That's how I view it. So if there was one move that led to another move, then I'm cool with it. Cavaliers and Lakers are currently the top free agent suitors for Jonathan Kuminga per Shams. That mean he taking some cheap deal. To go to either one of those places, but they're probably going to wait and see. He got to rehab his value, which is kind of crazy in my opinion. Don't believe anything you hear, half of what you see, like the old people say. That's true. I just when I'm watching DQ, I just think DQ should have gave him some better. Some of those Queen games were really bad, and I'm not talking about from a scoring angle, getting manhandled, had poor effort, turned the ball over. He was having trouble containing his emotions. He's immature. He is very immature, and he pouted, right? You're going to have, as far as like the scoring and like the turning the ball over, I ain't really tripping on that because that's part of being a rookie. And even containing your emotions to a degree, that's part of being a rookie. It's the pouting and the effort. You got to correct that shit. Like, you got to correct that. And I understand it to a degree. You still a young dude. Again, I just think he's really immature. You got to start getting beyond that. I'm not a fan of it. I ain't gonna lie. I don't want to do the Gafford deal at all. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't want to do the Gafford deal at all in no way. I don't want to take, if I'm taking like multiple years of a player, I want it to be a player that I think is gonna be a true difference maker. Like, I rather go do MPJ and give MPJ an extension, because now I'm like, all right, shit, we got like a real threat. And if I had to move off of somebody else, I think MPJ is like sustainable enough to where if I moved off Zion, it's like, all right, I ain't saying MPJ got to be my best player, but I still have multiple threats to fit around whatever player that we brought in, right? Same thing with, like, if you made a deal for Peyton Watson. Like, I think Peyton Watson just would fit around a bunch of other players. That's my thing. If I'm going to get anybody, it would be PJ Washington. It would be PJ Washington. And then PJ would have to, and I'm still on the, if I go get PJ, not saying that you can't, but if I'm going to get PJ Washington, I'd rather go get MPJ. I'd rather go get the supercharged version of both of them. That's just me. Would you rather have Queen or have Dyson Daniels now that he won most improved and almost won defensive player of the year? I'd rather have, that's tough. That's a good one. Dyson is elite defensively, bro. That's a good one. Probably Dyson. I like Dyson. I just think we wasn't using Dyson in the right way. But if I had Dyson, then I would feel like I could move. If I had Dyson and still had Fears, then I'd be like, all right, I can move Herb, or I can move DeJounte. There's a bunch of other people. So I'd probably say Dyson, because I think Dyson's impact defensively is, as of right now, at least, is probably greater than what I could project Queen's impact being right now. DQ wants the ball be here and ready for the team to go through him. He needs screens, rebounds, and handles. I think as of right now, I would like to have a center to be able to allow Queen to run the second unit. So that's why I would look at somebody like, well, unless you plan them at the four. And it's, when you start thinking about like lineups and starting lineups and minutes and rotations, that's the part that get a little questionable, right? Because if you had like a true center, which means I would like to play Queen at the four, but then I got to have the right kind of center. And then, is that enough shooting? Turner, MPJ all day. MPJ all day, dog. I really like MPJ game. First, I like MPJ game. Do you make anything of Z and B being extension eligible for 2 weeks? Nope. Not at all. I definitely don't think Zion. I was telling Chaz, man, I don't think Zion getting an extension this summer based off the kind of season he had last year. I don't think, unless he's gonna take like a cheaper deal. Like, I don't think they're gonna offer him it. Like, they'll do it, but like, you don't want to commit respectfully unless he took something way below what he should, like something in the 30s, right? Like, if he took like 35 or something, then you would extend him. But I don't want to commit long term to Zion when I just had, historically he hadn't been healthy. Like, he'll have a healthy season and an injured season, injured season. Based off his history, this year's supposed to be the injured season. So he got to shake back and be able to do that. But also, if it's not resulting in the wins, why do I need to commit to an extension? Especially when the season after that, you're going to be a $45 million expiring that I'll probably be able to move for something. So this year, for me, he gotta prove himself for me to even consider him getting an extension. Bay should be extended 4 for 52, something like that. What's 4 for 52? Anything over 13. I think he deserved more than 13. I can't do the 13. What 60 get you? 4 for 60, I could see. 4 for 60, 65, something like that. Zion betting on us. Exactly. If he come out and have a great season, you're gonna be looking at 45 and up. You be looking at 45 and up. So that's what I'm doing if I'm Zion. Like if I'm the organization, there's no way I give you an extension right now, especially with like the uncertainty of our roster moving forward. Nah, I can't do it. Also, Queen trade turned the number he picked, which became Fleming's, but could have been Yaxel. Yeah. Again, Queen got to come out and show that he, in my opinion, like I need to see Queen in an opportunity play just as well, if not better than all of those guys. Like I think he's gonna be better than Fleming, but I need you to be better than Fleming. I need you to look better than Yaxel. I need you to look. Not saying he will or won't, but that's just what I need. You need to play on par of, or if not better than, majority of those people that you could have had. Morez, Johnson, or Mortez, however you pronounce his name. Like you got to look better than most of those guys, in my opinion. Mara, all of them, at least on par with. And that's kind of where I'm at. Bay getting more than 13, especially. Yeah, I think he's gonna be somewhere around like 18, to be honest. But no, I'm telling you, if you look at Derek Queen numbers in some of his games, he got some high minute games too. 41, 39, 39, 38, 37, 35, 35. Like he got a bunch of 30-minute plus games. And then where's his points? So he got 1, 2, 3 30-point games as a rookie. That's not bad. He got 2 triple double. Well, yeah, no, he got 1 triple double. No, how many triple doubles does he have? 1 triple double. He got a 20 and 11, a 20, 11 and 7. Though he had some really good moments during the season. He had some really good moments during the season. So I don't know, but man, I ain't gonna keep y'all too much longer, man. I appreciate y'all joining in for this episode. Again, we almost 3 hours in, so we just be running it. I appreciate everybody. We should trade Herb now, and that means Herb for 20 is not a good contract next year. It is not. That's why Chaz be so emphatic about you got to move the deal now before the money kick in. You got to find somebody. Like again, if I'm doing it, I'm trying to package Herb with somebody and go turn that into, again, like if I could turn Herb and Poole into somebody, into MPJ or something like that, then I'm doing that. Especially if I can turn Herb and DeJounte into something. Now it's hard to move both of those players because neither one of them really have the value. He had 2 triple doubles. Let me see. He had the 10 and 10 game, the 33. What is this? Where is it at? 33, 10 and 10. 33, 10 and 10. I don't see the other one. Honestly, because he only had 2 games with double-digit assists. At least from what I see here, unless it was like a low budget game or something like that, like a lower number game. Herb and Poole for MPJ, I do it. Hoggins in a second for Stewart. Listen, if you could do Herb and MPJ, and then swing Hoggins and Stewart for a second, you done won. Like your team is better. He got the triple double against the Spurs and the Wizards. Let me go back to his full games. The Spurs and the Wizards. DQ started 48 games last year and only played 25 minutes. See, this is the thing about a lot of these sites too. Sometimes they don't show all of the stats, or like the stats don't always be 100% accurate. The Spurs, let's see, points. All right. I see the 33, 10, and 10. Let's see assists. Okay, yeah, in the Wizards, he had 14, 12, and 16. I guess they didn't have it because they didn't look at the points, but he had 14 points, 12 rebounds, and 16 rebounds and 12 assists. That's a good game. 2 blocks. Bro, DQ had a 5-block game. In the game against Chicago, he had 9 points, 5 blocks, 2 steals, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Why did Queen miss that one game? I don't remember. Dog. But, man, listen, that's going to do it for the day, bro. I appreciate you. Let me see if I had any more of these that I wanted to ask. Hold on before I do that. I think we got through most of. Yeah, okay. I think we got through most of the would you rather that I wanted to discuss too. So appreciate y'all, man, for running it with me on this great Thursday morning, bro. Hopefully this got y'all through y'all morning powers into the afternoon. Might do an episode tomorrow. I kind of got an idea for something I want to talk about, but we'll see. But appreciate everybody for tapping in, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all afternoon, going into y'all evening, get ready to go through the weekend. If you out there with New Orleans and they doing with the storm, I don't know what the weather look like down there right now. He had a day-to-day injury. Okay. Bro, 81 of 82 games is phenomenal when you ain't have no offseason. So again, with an offseason, a training camp, new coaching, hopefully a solid roster spot, realistically, you will hope Derek Queen can look like the Derek Queen that they want him to be. Man, appreciate y'all, bro, for real. Make sure y'all hit that like button. I ain't playing my videos just yet, so I definitely got to run my my Jamal Mosley speech. You hear me, that we give to the roster. Here we go.
We will be perfect in every aspect of the game. You drop a pass, you run a mile. You miss a blocking assignment, you run a mile. You fumble the football, and I will break my foot off in your John Brown hind parts. And then you will run a mile. Perfection. Let's go to work.
Absolutely, man. Also, one last one too, because at the end of the day, listen, we finally got some news. We finally got some news that the Pelicans, like some outward news. We've been hearing some stuff behind the scenes, but some outward news that they've been, again, linked to trying to do something with Hawkins, which I personally think is a gateway move. A gateway move by, if they sign a wing, they'll probably be looking to move a different wing or bring somebody into the fold. So again, if you move Hawkins, bring in Mathurin, that probably moves Herb Jones for another player. Let's see who that other player potentially will be. And then go from there. But this is the message of Joe Dumars, man. Let's go ahead and get this together in the offseason.
Nobody believes in you. What are you prepared to do about it? Don't let no one come into your house, take your meal, do what you need to do today. I'm not nervous. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get it together, Joe. Let's get this offseason moving in the right way. Let's not make no bad moves just to make them. But if there's a move that leads to a move, let's get it done. Appreciate everybody, man. Hit that like button, dog. Appreciate Herb for Allen. Fuck it. Call it in. Let's do it. I don't think they make that move, though. But call it in. Let's get it done. Y'all be safe, man. For me, I'm A. Davis, Pels in the Blender. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, share the channel, hit the hype button, all of that. I'm out. Y'all be safe. Peace.